Welcome to the Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap the 2020 IBJJF Euros. We're going to preview Kasai Pro 7 that Emil and I are going down to in Dallas, Texas. We're going to preview Finishers 11 and the third Coast Grappling Qualifiers. As always on the show, I'm your host, Mange, with my co-host,
Zach Brodnick.
How do you say your last name, Zach?
Brodnick.
Yeah, I'll call you Zach.
That's
Zach's the guy I
easier.
trained with. Zach is a black belt here at Baltimore BJJ, and he has some really cool stuff for Euros. We thought we'd bring Zach on and basically recap Euros with him. So before we do that, let's get into a little bit of news. Let's see. My first news is Mikey's at rooster weight, which isn't really like even good news anymore. I don't think he's going back.
He's not going to go back. There's no chance that he goes back. I don't know why he would go back at this point. He's doing so well at lightweight.
Light feather?
Light feather.
Yeah.
He could go up to lightweight if he felt like it. I think at this point
He could go to super
heavyweight.
Dude, we'll talk about that in Euros. But yeah, I don't know why that was in news like earlier in the week.
It's not news anymore.
It's not really news anymore. Other news: Grappling Industries ended their MMA fighter free policy. So previously, Grappling Industries the last 18 months had allowed MMA fighters to enter free, pro MMA fighters, and they've since ended that. And they actually had some I think pretty valid.
But they're allowing the black belts to still enter
Black
for
and
free.
brown.
Black and brown
Black
still
and
enter
brown.
free. So it was just specifically MMA fighters. And I
Basically, because they didn't bring anybody, and they pulled out a lot.
Yeah.
And they didn't really they wouldn't really support the event in the way that they kind of would ask to be supported if you're going to give a guy a free registration. So it sucks that happened, but it's an understandable kind of business decision. So get your black belt, get your brown belt, you can still do it. It's honestly that's amazing. That's a black and a brown belt. If you want to go compete, there's literally no excuse aside from I got to fight black and brown belts, which are quit at jiu-jitsu.
That can be an excuse sometimes.
Yeah. Third Coast Grappling has announced a West Coast event. I don't have a date for it yet. I talked to Ryan a little bit, the event promoter, earlier this week. He's going to announce a date coming up soon, but they're going to basically not do a Texas event. They're going to do an LA event, which I am super excited for. They've put on some great events.
They put on great events.
Yeah, and we're going to cover, we're going to preview one of their events coming up. So that's great. There is a quintet style event in Canada called Parabellum Quintet 3. I just found about it this week. I love quintet style events. Finishers running a quintet style event. We're going to talk about it in a bit. Parabellum's running one. I like that more promoters are putting on quintet style events because they are inherently exciting.
They're exciting, and they also bring in people that are extremely good at jiu-jitsu that you might not have seen otherwise because of the team format. So you get a couple people in that you'll get occasionally some names that are people that you want to see, and they'll bring on their team someone that you don't necessarily know very well. And I think that's a nice feature of that style of tournament as well.
Also, you get to see guys with super flash subs.
Yeah.
Because you're losing until you win. So it's I better go for this crazy flying whatever.
Yeah.
And sub a dude. So that's exciting. We relaunched our website. I know we relaunched it, talked about it a couple weeks ago. I'm now putting up articles there. Some of the guys are in the process of writing some articles. It's actually generating a bunch of traffic.
Oh, that's nice.
Which I was excited about because the old website was garbage, and this website is a functional website with good articles, and it actually we can publish stuff, and the events list doesn't look as much like garbage now. So if you are looking for some grappling stuff that's in more print form, go to thegrapplingrewind.com and check out our events list there, check out our articles. I'm still in the process of adding a lot to the website, so look forward for that. But basically, it's a full...
it looks great.
It's a real website now.
Looks great.
Which is super. So shout out to Simon Haptomariam. He's a guy that actually writes for the Grappling Rewind. It's super helpful. He actually knows
recently brought on, right?
Yeah. Recently brought on basically for writing. He was like, I can also do web stuff. I was like,
nice.
Really? Let's make a functional website. So he did a great job with that. And so big thanks to him. Other Third Coast Grappling news, they started a podcast, and they talked about their last kids event, and they also talked a ton about their March 14th event, which they've just announced today, a bunch more names in their lineup. It looks like a banger card.
I didn't catch that.
It's really good.
Nice.
I can pull it up. It's basically a bunch of big names. Gordon, it's Pat Downey, it's Nick Rodriguez. It's a bunch of big names, and I'm looking for flights to come down so that I can go and cover it because it looks like a banger card. Let's see. Substars has signed a bunch of guys, and they signed Rumble to a professional sumo bout. So I texted Josh about this because we used to cover it early in the show back in 2017 into early 2018. We used to cover sumo on the show. because Josh
that.
Josh is a huge sumo fan.
Of course he is.
So, and like legitimately follows sumo, and so he taught me sumo, and we basically covered professional sumo on the Grappling Rewind for probably 6 or 8 months.
Nice.
And so I texted Josh this, and he's like, "This is gonna be interesting." In his very Josh way. If you know Josh at all, you've heard Josh on the show. He had some thoughts on it. You can actually strike in sumo, by the way.
Yeah, they're like open palm.
Open palm strike. So it's like I was like, okay, so Rumble.
I would love to see Rampage do it too.
Man, at this point, maybe not after the Fedor fight. Like,
He's put some weight on for it.
A little bit, but I'd watch Rampage and Rumble. That'd be really good. But so yeah, he can slap. Rumble might KO a dude. That could be potentially pretty interesting.
Does that win you a sumo? I know it's legal, but does that if
no?
you
Because
knock
he goes
someone
down.
out?
Because he'll go down.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, they don't care what happens. He goes down. Like
if he goes down, he goes down.
Right. Let's see. That's all I got. That's interesting. I'll see that. I'll figure out what that is. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, there's a Nogi Super Camp going on with Wagner Hosha, and I'm talking about a little more at that at the end of the show. But basically, it's like I think it's like $700, and there's like they're running a deal for it, and it's a bunch of big name instructors. It's like a Nogi Super Camp down in Florida. It looks really fun. I think it's in March, and I'll talk probably more about it as it gets closer to it. I think it's filling up. I talked a little bit with those guys about that event, and it seems like a really cool like camp. I know more and more people are doing camps. You ever been to jiu-jitsu camp?
I haven't been to one because when I had them available to me, I was way too broke to do them. But I was with Braza for a long time in Comprito, and those guys do a camp every year or two in crazy fun places. And the people that I know love them.
Yeah, like Spencer.
Spencer
he goes to them probably like 3 or 4 times a year. Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
Like
it works
those
for him
are his
too.
vacations. He just like he goes and he like goes on a jiu-jitsu camp, and it's like dude's living his best life. Well, actually, probably should bring him on. Like, hey, what are these camps like? Tell me about these camps. What are they like?
I know when he comes back, he's doing new things that I don't like. So
yeah, he gets something from them all the time.
Yeah,
so I've learned plenty of stuff from him. Like, oh look, at this camp I learned this. I was like, oh cool, show me this. This is really cool. And then the only last piece of news is Gordon called out the world, basically.
again,
more.
Retired from calling out the world for a couple months.
Not even a month. Like not even a month. Like 2 weeks.
Oh, it's awesome.
He's like, I'm retired. He's like, no, I'm retired. Basically, what it is, he's giving Keenan shit for losing in the absolute finals of the Europeans, because they have a really good relationship and they've gone back and forth like this for years, and they're
good enough that they can. Keenan's good enough that Gordon can give him shit about not winning the absolute.
Oh, I didn't win one of the 4 majors. In my division, I lost in the finals. Like that. I'm actually super.
Did you see
happy.
Keenan's response?
No, I didn't. What did he say?
He said something back like, I got gold and silver because I'm the best at winning and losing at the same time. Something along those lines.
Dude, Keenan is the world champion of silver medals. Like that dude he talked about it on the Map Burn like a while. He's talked in a bunch of interviews over the years. Like basically he has more silver medals at majors than like anyone else. You look at his resume, I'm like, dude, you have so many silvers at Worlds and like ADCC and like, holy crap.
They're usually exciting matches too.
Dude, Keenan is a crazy submission artist. He submits, which is even crazy, he got submitted.
Yeah.
That is the first time he has been submitted to black belt of the gi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Third time he's submitted ever. Gordon submitted him twice.
Yeah.
Once at Grappling Industries, once at ADCC.
Yeah.
And then Felipe Andrew. This is the only time he's been submitted in the gi at black belt.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was gonna break that in the segment. I can't
contain it.
Dude, I was like, I looked at it, I was like, wait a second, he got submitted. Like, he's never gotten submitted in the gi.
I didn't realize that.
I think the last time he got submitted was at Purple in the gi.
Wow.
It's like some Dean Lister stats where it's like, I haven't been tapped in 17 years. You're like, Jesus.
Man.
So, that's all I got for the show. Let's move into Euros. You got anything else for news?
No.
All right, let's do it. All right, so let's do it. Let's move into our recap of the 2020 IBJJF Euros in Lisbon, Portugal. This was a fun one. I have like 3,000 words written of notes, which is way more notes than I usually have written. So where do you want to start with this one? I mean, there's a couple ways we can do it. What I think we should do is I think we should start with the men's rooster and then go up the divisions, and then do we either do the women's division next and do the open class last?
I think do the open class. Do the open class after the men's because we're talking about them all the way through.
So talk about all the men's divisions.
Consistent, yeah.
So go up the weight classes and then finish with like what should be the bigger guys, but then you got Mikey in there messing up like the flow of it. So let's talk about men's roosterweight. So Mikey Musumeci was initially registered for this division. He was like, I don't want to die and go to roosterweight, so he went up to light featherweight. And so this division kind of got blown open since we talked about it. I think we previewed it with Mikey out of the division.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start with this one?
So I think Thalison and Bruno was. That's
okay. Caveat: Zach's not great with names.
No, I'm
like
terrible.
Zach knows guys.
Yeah. I'm gonna be bad with the names.
Yeah, it's like Zach in true Grappling Rewind fashion is not a good name guy.
I
So
fit
if he's butchering names, like he's
Forgive me.
he's in the right place. So Thalison Soares versus Bruno Malfacine. Bruno was supposed to take this one. So Thalison gets through his first match, which is Christian Woodmansey.
Yeah.
And which was
was
like,
a good match too.
Yeah, was a good match.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, he's gonna fight Bruno. This is really good. And it was a super competitive match.
Yeah.
Like I was really surprised. It was like sweep for sweep, and Thalison ends up getting some ads to win him the match.
Yeah.
Like I think he won by one ad.
Yeah.
I'm literally looking at the bracket. I have notes for this match, and they're not on the right screen. So you fill this while I find my notes.
So I thought it was a really nice, clean match of jiu-jitsu. It's a very standard lightweight stuff where there's a lot of this like double guard pulling and the like sort of sitting
even below lightweight.
Do we have? Yeah, I know. Do we have a? I mean, by lightweight, I meant like everything below middle.
Yeah, everything below. Everything,
is,
that's what we say. Like everything below middle is we see a lot more pulling.
Yeah,
and then above middle, it's like
actually, I'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't even know at this point if you see a lot more pulling at those lightweights. You see a lot more double pulling, but this
that's a good
this
point.
Euros was pulling.
I mean, that's kind of the current meta where a lot of guys sit is like.
Well, it was interesting because I thought I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but I thought, and I think that a lot of people had talked a little bit about, AADC was in, and people were working on their takedowns a lot, and there was this right. We're going to see wrestling's back, and it's a thing. And then this was the first big event after
ADCC.
People thought about that, and it just didn't happen.
I think it hasn't had time to kind of percolate into it. I think we're seeing it more in the no-gi scene because ADCC is always, in people's minds now because it's such a. It's got even bigger since 2019, since 2017.
Yeah.
I think the lapel stuff. And the dominance of the lapels is why we're seeing kind of the pushback. We're not seeing the adoption of wrestling as much because getting the bottom position and getting the lapels is such a dominant factor now because you're connected to the person.
Yep. Especially at these lighter weights. So many of these matches went by, I think you could start to predict the direction of the match by watching who was forced to come up after the double guard pull.
Yes, that was.
And whoever was forced to come up was going to be down 2 points within 5 minutes. And then be recovering those points, and like that's how a lot of these matches.
That's how the Bruno Thalison match went.
That's how the Bruno Thalison match
decided to come up, and then he gets swept, and then he resweeps, and then he gets swept, and then he resweeps, and then Thalison. What did Thalison end up getting actually? Oh, this is all out of order. This is great. Because I watched all the finals matches because Euros is not going to get watched live for me.
Yeah.
And that's took notes. And then I watched all the other matches I wanted to watch. So I'm just in the bottom of the list is just a bunch of giant notes for like these weren't finals matches, but I wanted to watch this. So these are.
I did not take good notes on this match either. So.
But yeah, so Thalison takes it. And that was, I think, super surprising to a lot of people.
I think it was. It was an upset.
Me included, because we picked Bruno pretty handily. We thought Thalison was definitely going to be in there and definitely be in contention, but I didn't pick him to win. And to beat Bruno, or he didn't win, and then he fights Tomoyuki. I'm going to mess up his name. Tomoyuki Hashimoto. Tomo.
It's what everyone's calling him in his interviews.
It's Tomoyuki, not Tomoyuki.
Oh, yeah.
Show, because Josh gave me shit about that last week, and I'm trying to get better at pronunciation, especially if you, the name pronunciator master, like one of us has to do it.
Someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, so that was a really interesting match. You should actually watch that match. It's really, really technical play. But let's talk about the finals match.
Yeah, the finals. It was such good coaching. I don't know if listeners were able to hear. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. If it was Cautera or not, it kind of sounded like him a little bit to me.
And he's Kaio's voice in a broadcast because he always sounds different in interviews than he does coaching.
Yes.
So like he was coaching Mikey, and
it sounded like the same voice to me.
And but it didn't sound like me like Kaio. But I assume it was because he was there. Like, who else would coach Mikey?
I don't know who else would have coached Mikey. Yeah, and Kaio was definitely there.
Because he's a picture of him with Mikey Musumeci with the open division ticket.
And then there was a picture with him, with Mikey and Tomo after.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that it was him. If it wasn't, whoever it was, did some amazing coaching in this match. And Tomo was just doing exactly what the coach told him to the whole time. It was beautiful.
I gotta stop writing funny stuff in my notes that I can't read on the air. Because there's a bunch of them, and I just started trying to laugh into the mic about I shouldn't have wrote that note.
But yeah, so Tomo, things get really exciting when Tomo locks up his reverse triangle.
Yeah, he kind of shoots it up there quick.
Yeah, it was early. So what I have, it was 7:30 left in the match was when he actually gets that reverse triangle
So like kind of early.
Or no, 6:45. Sorry, 6:45. And he's in there for so long, so much of the match.
Yeah.
And he played some really nice X guard, like lapel X before that, which led into these sort of off balancing setups that eventually got him into that reverse triangle. But I think that
he holds the reverse triangle in a really interesting way too. He's reverse triangle, so he's like it's super tight, almost like a regular triangle, but his legs are basically windshield wipered over the wrong way over the shoulder. So he has the wrong leg locked up, but he's so tight on it. It actually took me a second to figure out, like, what's wrong with this triangle? It doesn't look right. And then Tomoyuki is actually holding the top side of his shin, and he had something really interesting. He had the top side of his shin with his close side hand, and then he had the belt of Thalison with the other hand, making it impossible for Thalison to basically posture up or get over, really do a whole lot there, because he was so postured down, because he had that really powerful belt grip in conjunction with the foot grip or the shin grip.
Yeah, and throughout that time, I think that like Tomo started to look like he was trying to shift his hips at certain points, and then you could hear his corner telling him not to do that.
It's like, you've got
to
this,
hold the reverse triangle and just
triangle.
don't let him get out of there. And then that pants grip that he had, that belt grip that you were talking about, I think that Thalison might have started getting a little frustrated with that, and he started really forcing his butt up in the air and started putting pressure down real heavy, and then
like tripoding him and pushing, and he pushed Tomoyuki, and basically they started dead center in the middle of the mat, and over what?
Well, I think that might have been strategic on Talison's end. I think he was trying to move it out of bounds. Which,
and see, it could go I thought about this
it might
either
have
way,
been happening that
because Talison's face is head down, but he can still see outside, and he's a game enough competitor. He knows where he is in the mat space, and he's pushing over like a couple minutes. He starts to push out, and probably like a minute and a half before the match gets DQ'd, you hear Tomoyuki's corner, which is giving great cornering advice.
So good.
Basically tell him to switch. And Tomoyuki switches the triangle.
But
and
he does it. That's what I was getting towards. I think that he was keeping Talison's hips down with that belt grip. And then around the time that he was told to switch, you see him release it a little bit. And Thalison is able to start getting his hips really, really high at that point. But because his hips are so high, when Tomo goes to switch, Thalison doesn't have the ability to posture up, which is what you want to worry about when you're trying to hit that switch from a reverse triangle to a triangle, is that if when I release my triangle, my opponent has the ability to posture up and start breaking through, then I lose everything.
Right.
And so Tomo lets go of that belt grip, allows him to pick his hips up in the air, which means that his face is really far down, and he doesn't have the ability to quickly posture back up when he switches.
Because the shoulders are down.
Yeah. And so he hits the switch just so beautifully.
It's a
the whole scenario
switch.
was really, really beautiful.
And so he's in this triangle, and then you hear Tomoyuki's corner yelling at him, like, don't let him push you out. Because basically, they know that Tomoyuki is going to win this match either by sub or either by points.
Or in the third scenario, which no one saw coming, DQ.
Well, no, his corner saw it coming.
Yeah, I guess
his corner basically is like, look, he's trying to push you out because he wants to lose by DQ. He doesn't want to lose by sub. Basically, they think his triangle is tight enough that he's going to have to tap to it. And I was like, he's not going to do that. And then he pushes him. And I think, honestly, really, really good job here by his corner. I'm not sure his corner is necessarily yelling at Tomoyuki, but they're yelling at the ref. So they're coaching Tomoyuki, but there's a couple points where you see the ref react a certain way after the corner has said something, and I go, and that's honestly, I've done it before when I coach guys, is like when I know a ref is either not going to see something, not going to do something, I will say something specific, like to coach the guy that I am coaching, so that the ref realizes, oh, this is happening. Be ready for, hey, you're gonna get your points here, and you see the ref go, oh, I should give him points now, but that happens a couple times, and I think that was really good coaching, because that's part of what you do as a coach. So go back and watch this match. Go back and actually listen to the corner audio in this match, because it is one of the most insightful corner audios that I've heard in like a match in really a long time.
Yeah, ever maybe.
It's
and
really,
the coaching
really
is really
good.
clear too, which is a nice bit. Like guys might get coaching that good regularly.
But you don't
hear it.
Yeah.
And whoever his corner was right next to the mic.
Yeah,
you
thought it was Kaio.
I think it's Kaio.
You were a Brasa guy for.
Yeah, I was a Brasa guy for six years at Strong Style in Cleveland. We were a Compredo branch, but we would see Kaio pretty regularly anyways. So
you're familiar with his wife, and you might have sounded like him.
I have a little bit of a bias towards rooting for them.
That's reasonable though. Like, you like your team.
Yeah.
Like, I have no bias unless I do on the show. Then you'll definitely hear it. So anything else on that match? I mean, really great match.
No,
I think that's. Go back and watch that match. This is a super fun bracket.
Yeah.
crazy DQ.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the light featherweight bracket, the Michale Musumeci show.
Yeah.
He took this bracket, like, everyone kind of thought he was going to take the bracket. It's like Bruno at Roosterweight. You kind of like, it's your front runner, your world champion, your former world champion at the weight class now went down, but still a contender.
Yeah.
We saw him in open weight look crazy good. And you're like, okay, no one at light feather can stop that, because the only way he gets beat is by Mahamed Aly. And was winning the match for a portion of that match versus Mahamed Aly.
Yeah.
Good luck at light feather. This match was honestly like a lot closer than I thought it was, though.
The finals match?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was close, and honestly, it was. I was unenthused. It was really good jiu-jitsu, but it was a lot of. Do we have a name for this like double sit guard situation now? That's like not exactly 50-50 because you're not in 50-50, but
yeah, we had a name. Double open guard.
Double
open. What we called on the
double
show.
Open guard. Okay.
Yeah, where
I'm
it's like
fine with
guys
that.
are like playing footsie a little bit. Where it's like I'm not in 50-50. I'm both like both guys are sitting and basically doing not Georgian wrestling. What's with the board?
Yeah.
You hold the board in the middle and you both pull on it. That's kind of what it looks like.
Kind of what it looks like
With the lapels and the hands. Like no one's really in a position to like do anything other than wait for somebody to stand up or maybe go for a footlock.
I think there's some really, really nice gamesmanship that happens with those matches, but it's like it's so contrary to like old school jiu-jitsu that I adore that I have a hard time accepting it right now, but I'm getting there. Right.
Yeah,
and I think that's the way jiu-jitsu is going,
it's
especially
so powerful
at those.
in the meta.
Yeah,
you
it's such a part.
You can't respect it, but it's going to take me a little bit to get used to like, okay, this is high level jiu-jitsu and these guys really
and it obviously is. It's very high level.
But it's going to take a little mental shift to go, okay, this isn't bullshit. This is really important, and they're gonna. There's a reason they're fighting this way because this is the meta and the best strategy they can use.
What was interesting about this match, though, was that Mikey sort of there's the 2 double guard pulls that most of these start with, and 2 penalty points to both people, and then there's another double guard pull, and Mikey sort of begrudgingly comes on top. And we mentioned earlier in the show that that's sort of a tell for, this guy might lose this match.
Yeah, because we don't.
But it didn't happen
see the
here.
guy coming up, like. The guy coming up is conceding to come up.
Right.
And Mikey concedes to come up. I was like, that's interesting. I didn't figure he would do that.
Well, was that or double DQ third penalty point
Let's not
nonsense.
do that, please.
So someone had to do it.
Yeah.
And he sort of, you can see it in his face that he doesn't want to do that, but then he ends up going back down into that like version of double open guard that only Mikey can do because he's so flexible, where he's doing that like that really low squat where he's almost sitting on his butt, but his feet are flat on the ground.
It's a weird little squat.
I don't understand how people's bodies can physically do that, but that man can do it.
Yeah, Zach, how tall are you?
6'3".
Yeah, so they give you some context for Zach. I'm about 5'7" if I'm lying a little bit.
Yeah.
About 149.
I think that was a discussion on the show last week too, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's how tiny. Dude, most of the guys on the show honestly are like not.
They're shorter.
Some half of them. We're all short. A lot of them short. You're like the tallest dude ever to be on the show.
Do I get an award?
Yeah, you're tall. That's your award.
I can reach high things.
That's what you get. It sounds like it's a really close match. 2 points, advantages and penalties, and Mikey gets the nod. It's a decision, right?
Yeah.
Mikey gets the decision.
And I think he dominated the match. I think that's the right decision. Especially the last 2 minutes or so, Mikey was really pressing forward, and I think that it might have been strategic. He might not have actually been pushing that hard to get the points, although he probably was. But just showing that effort in the last 2 minutes, I think that gets you the judge's decision in a tight match like that. So,
and I think it was a really reasonable decision.
Yeah, it was the right call.
All right, let's move on to the next division, the featherweight division. Finals match between Isaac Doderlin and Leo Sogorio.
This was a great match.
Dude, Doderlin is a fun dude. We watch him all the time in King of Mats and in UAEJJF and AJP. Dude brings it. Dude is always fun to watch. And he's American, which is always like a little bonus because I speak English. And I'm biased.
Yeah, just a really great match overall. Doderlin, so Sogorio, my favorite part in the whole thing, and I think I actually saw this a couple times in like clips that Flo was putting on as promotional for the match, or for Euros altogether. But he's got this like really, really heavy over-under pass going, and Doderlin, he reaches back with the arm that Sogorio has the underwidth and starts yanking him forward a little bit and gets his shoulder out past his thigh and then switches his hands.
Dude.
And
so I have a file that I've just started for Euros because I've talked about it for a long time, and it's moves I want to try. Or learn. And what Dodelin does here, and I think it's really interesting, is he uses the grip, and instead of reaching overhand with the belt, he reaches underhand with the belt, so it's a power grip. He also he goes forearm to back. Instead of going over top where you can lift and pull.
Not with the first grip, but the second one, when he switches that one, he's pulling through.
Yes, and he does like a weird, it's not a hip out, it's not a tack out. It's
I wrote it down as a hip escape.
It's kind of a
hip escape, but then he creates the distance
but he sweeps with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he sort of comes up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hip escapes to create the space, and then he comes up in, not a tech stand-up, but a pushing forward sort of stand-up position from a turtle kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful display of technique. Really,
and you saw
everyone should go watch that and figure out what he did, and then next time I'm pressure passing, try that on me so that I know how bad it is.
It was really cool. That was one of the tech pieces that I got from this match. I was like, I gotta on 2020, I'm trying to actually I watch a ton of tape, and I'm trying to incorporate some of the tape I watch into let me actually try use some of these things that I'm watching the high level guys do because I spend this much time doing the show and watching tape. Let me apply it.
Yeah.
So definitely go back and watch just that
little bit alone. Was so, and it was at, for those that care, about 6:30 left in the match, is where I have that.
So Roy tries to blow under at one point at the match, and the rest of the match, really close. There's a back take. It finishes 2-2 with 2 advantages to Isaac and two penalties for Isaac and 1 for Sogorio. I've written that down wrong.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's a points win.
Yeah, it's a points win.
For Dodelin, but I think
it's a points win. Yeah. Which is what I cared about, so I didn't keep track of the advantages. And
I always keep track of it, and then at the end of my notes, it's always jumbled together. I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because it's always weird to write competitors' names and points and advantages and penalties and keep it straight, which is obviously what's happened here. But that really, that one moment...
The rest of the match was still really good, though. Sogorio was playing some really nice guard and kept... he elevated Dodelin a couple times, and there were some places where I thought that he might be able to actually push forward through a sweep, and Dodelin did a great job keeping his base and maintaining, and the whole match was actually very exciting beyond that one really beautiful technique that I'm gonna have to watch another 100 times. But.
I'm gonna watch that live. Really, really good match. Dodelin takes the featherweight division. Moving on to the lightweight division, Jonnatas Gracie versus Victor Henrique Silva Oliveira. I always forget what name he uses. I call him Henrique. In my notes, he's Henrique the whole time. Well, it's because that's the easiest name for me to write very quickly.
Yeah.
Because the V and the O are really far apart on the keyboard. Not going to lie. Keep going, Zach.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to find my notes again. I've kind of trailed off. Yeah, because they're on 2 different screens, and I've oriented the brackets on one screen so I can see it. Yeah. So we can talk about interesting matches to the bracket, and the notes are behind that, so I keep having to click a button to get back to the notes.
Yeah. So I thought this match was very safe jiu-jitsu all around. I thought both players were doing really nice things, but staying really safe, especially. So Jonnatas gets this sweep in the first minute of the match, and it's a sort of his first sweep, and it's a sort of wide swing to X guard, and it just sort of off balances.
I called it an X guard balloon sweep.
That sounds
it's like an overhead X sweep. Yeah, but it's not like that traditional. He played it from both legs on the far side leg, as opposed to in the X position. Yes. And so he goes over with it, but it's all the same setups as the X guard.
Yeah. And so it's really, really nice sweep. And then he gets on top and sort of, I don't know, plays the safe game, which is smart. It's exactly what he should have been doing at that time. Mm-hmm. And what are we calling Henrique? Is that the name that we're using?
Vitor Henrique.
Henrique.
Yeah, right. Henrique. Let's go.
Let's go Henrique. He's doing a lot, but I think what he was mostly doing was working to try to get this double grip on the far lapel. He
really wanted that grip.
He really wanted that grip.
That's the only grip
and so he
wanted.
spent 7 minutes working to get that grip. And he was active jiu-jitsu. It wasn't, nobody was stalling.
No.
But it was just,
but it was
a lot of grip work.
It was, I want this grip.
Yeah.
And I'm up. So this is the only grip that I'm going to work for.
I think he finally gets it in a place that he likes. And in the last minute, he gets the sweep. Mm-hmm. And obviously it worked for him. He knew that he needed to get that grip. He got that grip. It took him 9 minutes, but then I think he loses the judge's decision because he spent so much time really not in control of the position.
Yeah.
And so, it makes sense. He did what he needed to do, but in the end, I think he loses just because he spent so much time on the bottom, which is unfortunate for him. But.
And I put basically, my thought for the decision was Jonnatas Gracie wins this because he spent more time passing.
Yeah.
Like, he spent more time actively looking for the pass from top position. And a lot of times they'll give it to the guard player when it's just a closed guard match, but Jonnatas was actively looking for that pass the entire time. And I was like, yeah, I see it. That's where it is.
Pressing scramble kind of situations, but and there was one point where there was close to a pass, and I think that Vitor had to sort of bring his legs up real high and sort of the knee to the face situation to maintain guard. And so, that might be the deciding factor.
I don't know if it was worthy of an advantage, but it was still
it wasn't an advantage, but it was close enough to an advantage. It was closer than any of the sweeps that might have happened throughout that time. So, yeah, the decision makes sense, but it was a lot of safe jiu-jitsu being played throughout there. And I usually really appreciate the like step by step, I'm gonna do this the right way and get my grips, and you're gonna know what's happening.
Walk up the positional chain.
Yeah, I like that, and it just took a long time for this match.
Yeah. This is where I kind of do like the AJP rules, where they've shortened the matches down.
Yeah,
and it's like they are aggressive with stalling. It's like these are really good matches, but it makes it a little less viewer friendly unless you're like really, really aware. It's good jiu-jitsu, but the speed is like it got a little long.
Yeah, and I'm not the guy that wants things to be super exciting, but at the same time,
guy. I'm not gonna lie.
I can appreciate slow jiu-jitsu.
How many hours of tape study do I do a week for this show? I'm that guy, man. Show me exciting matches. I love quintet. You know why? Because dudes are throwing flying whatever. Because if you don't get it, you lose.
It's fair.
Give me excitement. So really good. I don't want to take away from the match. It was a really good match.
It was a good match. It was smart, very technical jiu-jitsu. And if you're interested in like developing those sort of grip works that are so important for jiu-jitsu, it's actually a good match to go back and watch because the grip fighting that they're doing is very technical. It's just a lot of motion in a small space. And it's very technical, but it's also not big movement.
You don't see any mistakes there.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what happens. I go through this. It's a very systematic way. It's like, I want this grip. He knows I want this grip. I'm going to block his hand in this way. He grabs this grip. I counter grip here. I go here. Then we reset. And I go back and he counter grips. And eventually you see like the dynamism of the setup change over the course of that like 7 minutes. And like, okay, he's doing this now and he's countering in this way. It's cool to watch, but you're watching a microcosm of grip work. At like he wants this one grip, and it definitely is a little bit slower.
Yeah.
So moving on to I lost my place. There we go. To the middleweight bracket, we have Tommy Langaker versus Pedro Alves. Dude, I love Tommy at Euros.
Yeah.
That dude gets wild at Euros.
It was exciting.
Tommy is. I have it in my notes. I don't want to take anything away from Tommy because we've said it before. Like Tommy's an amazing grappler. That dude is the most. I think someone on Reddit said it like a year ago. Like the most rabbit out of the hat grappler. Like at any point in time, Tommy can go. He can just win. But he kind of reminds me of Keenan in that respect, where it's like at any section of time, Langaker can just do something and just beat you. And it's like, holy shit! Like that's a really hard guy to fight for that reason because. Like, you can beat him the entire match, and then he's just like, oh, I just win.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm losing
So, Tommy hits the same sweep twice in this match, I think. He's got this, like, sort of collar sleeve situation going, and De La Riva, and he hits this inverted rolling sweep, and he does it twice in...
I call it, like, a weird De La Riva sweep.
Yeah,
that's what I called it in my notes. I really couldn't put a name to like what it was.
Someone else was. I have it in my notes here somewhere. Someone else did this sweep in a finals match in Euros too, and it's sort of like a rolling inversion from De La Riva. You swing your body back around their leg, but then have a front grip so that their body kind of has to come with you as you invert.
Yeah. Was it Gaudio with the knee bar? Similar.
Similar sweep didn't work out as well for him.
Right.
But similar sweep. But no, there was someone that did it effectively, and I'll find it and maybe bring it back up. But it was a really nice technique, and I appreciate that he did it starting from that sort of collar sleeve position to set everything up into that lapel grip.
Was it a collar sleeve or was it like a lasso grip? Again, this is where I need to
he starts with collar sleeve.
Yep.
In the De La Riva, and then gives a yank forward on the collar to get him off balance before moving up into the lapel.
Oh, okay.
So and so like he starts the off balancing from collar sleeve, which is I think where the whole sweep started from, at least in his use of it from what I could see. He was sort of getting him off balance with the collar sleeve. And then once he was off balance, he switched down to that grip and then started moving his body around to the outside for this sort of inverted
It's like a swinging sweep. I'm always surprised he can swing really almost far out from a guy and then roll back in. It reminds me of if you've ever seen an inverted shot in wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of reminds me of that, where he swings like way further out than you think he should have to swing, and then he comes right back into position, and he uses the momentum really well to get the sweep.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better name for the sweep. It's just weird.
So many new things are happening in jiu-jitsu. It's hard to keep
I'm
up
always
with the
disappointed
names.
in my notes, though, when it's just like the note I have is like a weird De La Riva sweep. I'm like, I know there's a name. There's some dude, literally probably this week we'll get a message from someone. It's like, it's called this. I'm like, thanks, guy. Like,
I would actually appreciate that, because then I know what to call it.
Dude, it's awesome. Like, we get the messages all the time where it's like, hey, this thing you can't figure out, it's this grip. I'm like, cool, thank you.
Thanks.
It's not infrequent. I always really do appreciate when people are like, hey, point of correction, this grip. Like, thank you.
Yeah, great. And then this ends with
he finishes him.
Yeah, he finishes him, but Tommy's on top in sort of a little bit of a weird pressure passing kind of situation, and then Pedro just sort of rolls to turtle, if I remember correctly.
I'm not sure if Tommy forced the belly down or he rolls over to avoid like the positional change.
It didn't seem, watching it didn't seem like he needed to roll to turtle at that point, but maybe I just didn't have the right angle, or I'm not seeing some grip that was in there somewhere, but it felt like he kind of intentionally rolled to turtle, and then things went sort of downhill from there.
So, quick pause. Yeah. Zach and I realized that we were actually talking about potentially a different match.
Yeah,
and so we again, this is exactly why we brought more people on initially back in 2018 to cover Euros, because Euros is such a complicated event to cover. We needed to expand our team. So, Zach, kind of correct us where we are now.
Yeah, sorry. So I think I was actually talking about the next match there, because they both end in bow and arrow chokes. So where we were talking about how Tommy got onto the back, and I started talking about this pressure passing situation, which was not happening in this match. It was happening in the next match. What we actually had here was Tommy was in this collar sleeve De La Riva again, and then Pedro sat his butt down. This is what happened that sort of started this exchange. Pedro is on top, but then his butt hits the mat, and it sort of looks like he's trying to enter this double open guard kind of situation. But as soon as his butt hits the mat, like it's instant, Tommy leaps forward into a Kimura, and then does something really, really nice. If you watch the match a little slowly, he takes his back leg, sort of his trailing knee, and cuts it across Pedro's hips to prevent Pedro's hips from turning into him as he attacks the Kimura.
It was a nice little detail that I kind of caught too. I was like, oh wow, he's blocking that in like a really specific way, because he's gonna do what he does now. Yeah,
and so he blocks the hips, and then Pedro has to sort of settle in, and then from there, Tommy's able to sort of pull that Kimura up back, and they end up in this berimbolo kind of situation. He gets the back and then finishes with the bow and arrow, but it all starts with this sort of leaping attack on the Kimura. Yeah.
Again,
this is really beautiful block.
This is what I talk about Tommy, him being like that rabbit in the hat. Like he sees this one little tiny opportunity, and he's going to go for it.
Yep.
And early in the career, he struggled a little bit with that, and he's gotten better and better. I think at black belt, like now, just like at capitalizing at those teeny tiny little areas where it's like, oh, you've made this little, not even mistake, but this maybe slightly larger movement, or like capitalizable movement on a position, and like he can get all the way to the back and finish it with it.
9 matches out of 10, that sit can happen, and it's fine.
Yeah, and there's nobody, but a guy like Tommy can capitalize, and it's really like him and Keenan always remind me of that, because they take these little teeny things that happen in matches and just take so much from them, and it's really cool. And that's why I love Tommy at Europeans, because that dude can just pull it out, and he finishes. He does like the Norwegian, every famous picture of Langaker with him is gi open and just like screaming. I was like, yeah, Tommy, you won Euros. You deserve this one. So moving on to the next match. That division is
medium
into the medium division. Medium heavy division. Yeah. So in this division, we had Bruno Felipe Santos Lima versus Manuel Ribamar de Oliveira. I mean, there's 2 V's in that, so I thought it was versus, and I thought I wrote it down wrong. So this is the match we were talking about earlier with the rib issue. Or you didn't know what it was.
I didn't know it was a rib issue, but what happens sort of at the end... Well, one thing that I wanted to point out for this was, as far as I could tell, the only black belt finals match that didn't involve Keenan, where someone effectively used a worm guard variant. And I think Ribamar grabbed a worm guard, to finish the sweep at about 5 minutes. There was a lapel wrapped around a leg in there. So
2020 was the year that I'm going to learn lapel guards.
Yeah.
Not going to lie, it takes me a minute to identify all of the variations of like worm guards, squid guards. So it's like
I've just started calling them worm variants because it's all kind of a jumble still. But
in 2019, I was learning the leg locks. I can pretty much like walk through like what these leg lock positions are called. 2020 is like, okay, we have like 3 guys on the team for Grappling Rewind and also in my gym that have like the Keenan lapel stuff.
Yeah.
And I need to go through and I need to like read. And it's like basically like, this is worm guard, this is squid guard. So like I can learn the differences. Because even like you heard Braulio and Drysdale on commentary, like they didn't know the guards either. And I was like,
there's also so many names for them at this point. It's hard to keep track.
A worm guard variant.
A worm guard variant of some kind was used in this finals match by Hibamar, which was interesting because I was trying to keep an eye out for that. Like, what levels are those going to be at? And maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later. But it was interesting to see that actually happened here. And then he ends up on top. Hibamar ends up on top, and then he's sort of pressuring forward. And this is where I was talking about earlier. To me, it looked like
Bruno he
just kind of gives up turtle. But you were saying
what I saw here is Hibamar's pushing in, and then Bruno, like, the camera's not at a good spot, but he kind of makes like a little face, and you see him just kind of turtle. And I'm guessing that he like popped his rib out or did something to his rib. That's why he gives up turtle. He immediately gets his back taken and choked, and you see him just like lay there. And I was like, they called the medics out. Oh, he's touching his rib. It's like, okay, that's what I assumed happened. He had a rib injury, and then he got his back taken and got finished.
Which makes a lot more sense and actually fits in with what I was saying earlier, because I couldn't understand why he would have just given up turtle so easily. But if you just popped your rib, it makes sense to, not continue getting past. And
get laid on.
Yeah,
and like, I'm much rather deal with turtle with my ribs broken.
It seems like a smart way to end the match if you just got an injury.
Having torn my ribs out before, turtle is a way more comfortable position to be in. I mean, every position sucks, and I should have stopped training for a while, but I'm dumb, so I didn't. Sure. So yeah, turtle's a much better position.
Much all of our story, right?
Yeah, says me and the broken back guy.
Well, yeah, that's maybe a little more intense for you there.
So yeah, good match.
But yeah, it was a good match.
Hibamar's a monster, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's looked so good. Again, he's another guy we see a lot in UAE-JJF. I could see him doing really good things. I think Josh is writing an article on the grapplingrewind.com that I'll hopefully come out this week that's talking about like what you're seeing move from Euros into Pans. Like, what's the kind of the progression for the year? Yeah, it's really interesting. I've read a kind of a preview of a bit of it, and it's really interesting.
It's a nice idea.
Yeah, him talking like how the meta is shifting and like what the forecast is moving into Pans.
Interesting.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to read the article. So we have articles coming out of the Grappling Rewind.
That sounds awesome.
Look for that one, because I think I'm guessing that Hibamar will most likely be included in that article. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing.
But it might make sense.
No pressure, Josh. So, next match. Anything else on that one?
No, that's what I got for there.
Next match in the heavyweight division, we have Keenan James Cornelius versus Adam Wardzinski. This is a match I wanted to see. This is a rematch. I actually wrote a preview last week on the grapplingrewind.com talking about Keenan's matches in order to win his division, and this was one of the matches that I talked about in that preview. These guys have met before. Keenan took it before, and it's no different. Keenan's a monster.
I 100% agree. Keenan's a monster. I'm not discussing that. The match, though, this match in particular, the first 2 points that Keenan gets were either beautiful gamesmanship on Keenan's end or terrible calling on the judges. I'm not sure which it is, but he sort of he starts the match. They're standing up. Keenan is standing up as straight as he possibly can and gives one of these like inside heel kicks.
I had to watch this like 3 times. Let me cut you off right as you're explaining what's happening.
No. But so I watched it a bunch of times too, because he sort of gives one of these inside heel kicks. And from my perspective, as someone that does that stupid thing all the time, it's like a bad jab in boxing. It's like your first jab that you throw just to see what people are going to do, see what the reaction is. And then Wardzinski just happens to pull right after this, which is something that I coach people to do. Like, I will literally coach people to touch a leg when you have a guard puller, or to like kick a leg when you have a guard puller, because maybe you'll get the points for it. But at this level, it felt a little bit off to me.
This was clearly a guard pull by Wardzinski, but The rules state
Yeah.
Keenan initiates first. Keenan makes contact. Keenan touches the leg. Wardzinski goes down.
Yeah.
Keenan gets the points.
Yeah.
So this is, I think
it's gamesmanship.
Gamesmanship.
I think
Beautiful, high-level Keenan Cornelius, why he doesn't lose that often, gamesmanship. I think I scored it, like, I missed it initially. I was like, why did he get, I realized I was like a minute into the match. I was like, why does Keenan have 2 points?
But that also sets the tone for the whole match, because when you're playing against Keenan, you can't afford to be in his, like, if you can afford to maybe you can afford to be in his guard if you're up on points, right?
Maybe.
Because, well, I think these worm guards and these lapel guards are extremely difficult to mount an offense against. They are less difficult, still difficult, but less difficult to mount a defense against.
Yes.
And so, if you are up 2 points, if Wardzinski pulls, hits the sweep that he hits, and is on top, he can take his time there and
because
play out the match.
Keenan's going to take a line. Keenan's talked about it. See, this is really interesting to hear Keenan talk about this on the map run.
Yeah.
Because Keenan's one of the few high-level guys that actively, like, talk so much about what he's doing, what he's thinking. And so we have a bunch of weird data on Keenan because he's told us.
Yeah.
And Keenan talks about, like, it takes a long time to get the grips he wants. It takes a long time. It's like, and, like, where the guard is strong and where he's trying to push the match. So I think you're completely correct in that. It's like, Keenan, you get there, but good luck getting past it now. It's really hard to mount offense. You can defend it, and at the high level, those guys defend it really well, but it's really hard, and it's going to take Keenan a long time to mount an offense.
Even guys that are just learning it now, like if they really get those grips, it's something that I've been doing in practice a lot. It's just letting people that are working worm guards get these grips so that I have to try to deconstruct it and deal with it.
Right.
And
I'm doing the same thing, by the way.
I mean, I think that's the smart thing to do right now if you're playing jiu-jitsu. And I think a lot of people are doing that, but I think that we're all sort of experiencing this thing where if you mount an offense against it, you're gonna get swept. And
you
if
can't
you can stall,
overcommit at all.
You can't.
But if I decide to
barely regular commit.
if I decide to hunker down and kind of, that's kind of what Wardzinski does.
Yeah. And so what ends up happening though is that's 2-2. It's 2-2 because Keenan got points.
We'll talk about open weight instead of what happened to Mahamed. Mahamed was actively Mahamed got some points scored on him, but Wardzinski was aware and could keep the match, like, significantly slower. Never let Keenan really start to establish an offense, kind of defended it very slowly and methodically, because he knows that you're not going to just blow past a guy like Keenan because Keenan developed the worm guard to stop JT's passing and to stop a guy that's super explosive and super quick. And so it's like that's not an effective strategy against that guard and against the grips that the Keenan grips against. Dude, Keenan gave up. That dude should have called it Cornelius guard. You've got a marketing opportunity,
he lost
man.
It. But Wardzinski actually defends against one of Keenan's really nicely set up sweeps. He gets what I think is referred to as worm X. Although I don't really know.
Definitely. Worm
right,
X.
and it looks like a worm guard with an X guard component.
Does. Yeah, it looks like worm X.
Keenan gets that worm X position and starts a sweep, and Wardzinski's actually able to defend against it and stay on top, which is really impressive because that's hard to do, especially against Keenan.
But I think Wardzinski is a butterfly and X guy. And so he's super familiar with that game. Like, he's the guy that I watch for most of my tape study because he plays the game that I really want to play. So it's you see he gets into those X's, into those butterflies, and it's like, okay, that's...
which was actually really interesting because his sweep was actually from a reverse De La Riva shin-to-shin kind of situation, not from butterfly, and he played that...
that's something you kind of have to play as a result. And we see Wardzinski playing more of that, I think, now.
That's what I was going to bring up, that he's been playing that in his matches lately, and it's working really well, obviously, here. But then Keenan gets the Worm X again and actually completes the sweep this time. It puts it at 4-2. I think, puts it at 4-2, and then there's a little bit more back and forth, but that's sort of it. I think the takedown points set the tone for that match, which is huge, and
it gets Keenan too. It gets Keenan scoring off. I think the final for this match was 4-4. And then Keenan gets really close with 2 passes and wins. But that's a Keenan match. Like, if you can push Keenan, the guys that are really successful against Cornelius are the guys that can slow the match pace down and that can weather the storm and then very methodically deal with the worm guards and lapel guards. The guys that typically get, like, highlight reeled by Keenan are the guys that just try to blow through the guards and the way that Keenan fights is specifically designed to address that.
Yeah.
And so Wardzinski did the really smart thing here. And this is a match I would be happy to see again because
I would love to see it again.
Because Wardzinski is a guy that we've seen get better and better and better. Keenan's a guy we've seen get better and better and better. So I think it's really interesting that we've seen Wardzinski fix a lot of the problems in his previous games. I think 2 years ago, I think these guys fought in 17. I wrote it in my article. I should know. I wrote the article. But they fought not too long ago, and Keenan took it. And I think this is a far closer match. And we've seen Wardzinski fix a lot of those holes. Like, again, changing from just playing the butterfly, just playing the X to the shin-on-shin guards. We're seeing him incorporate new pieces of his game, and he's become really effective.
Yeah. I think I doubt that I don't see a world where we don't see this match again.
No, especially both these guys are like at the tops of the divisions again. I love watching both these guys' games, so I could talk about this over and over again. I think we've kind of anything else you want to talk about?
No, it was a great match.
Yeah. Moving on to the super heavyweight division, we have Patrick Gaudio versus Felipe Andrew. My notes are nope, Keenan versus the open weight. You have this one?
This one. This was a really
you start
quick
talking
match.
while I find the match.
Yeah, it's okay. This was a really quick match. Felipe pulls guard, gets a nice De La Riva, lasso De La Riva, which we see him play in the absolute finals as well, and he does a really nice job with it there. And then he gets this. I think what I have is really weird sweep. But it's almost nice. He gets Guido elevated really nicely.
It's Gaudio, not Guido.
Gaudio, yeah. My bad.
This is the
name thing again, huh?
He gets I can't call him that.
Yeah, that's
Patrick Gaudio.
Patrick, my bad.
See, like, you're so much better at jiu-jitsu than me, but it's like, at least I got names. At least for once, I'm not the name guy on the show.
Definitely have the names on me. He gets Gaudio elevated really nicely with this inside shin, his foot on the inside.
Yeah.
And then that comes back to bite him because as he gets the sweep over, Gaudio's able to just snag the leg.
Him.
And then he starts with the face down knee bar and then I think sort of creeps his leg in underneath and then ends up in this.
This was really cool because basically what Patrick does here, what Gaudio does is Felipe Andrew goes to lift with like a butterfly lift shin. And then Gaudio reads it and then comes underneath it. And this is like one of my...
Oh, so you think it was more of an intentional thing on Gaudio? Yeah, I might have missed that. That's probably true.
Because I play this sometimes.
Okay.
And so I watched it a bunch of times because it's a knee bar I like. And it's a hard knee bar to hit.
Sure.
It's because it's super strong. It's one of those behind the armpit knee bars. So it's super hard to defend, especially with where Gaudio lands at the end. It's really hard to get out of it because you're blocking the leg to escape. So it's super strong.
Yeah.
And he basically just he anticipates the lift and rolls under on the lift.
Yeah, okay.
It's really cool, and
it was beautiful. I read it as more of a catch than like an intentional thing, but you're probably right.
To me,
it was probably intentional.
It looked like he rode and then countered off of it, but it could have been like I just got there because Gaudio's super dynamic like that. But for me, just with how smooth
you're probably right on it.
Smooth it looked like something that he looks for and has done. I don't recall him doing it before, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's tape with how smooth this was of him doing this before.
It was. You're probably right now that I'm thinking about it more because it happened so beautifully.
Maybe not. I'm wrong about a great.
If I were him, I would claim that I planned it.
Yeah, I would too. Let's talk about the next division, the ultra heavyweight division. Igor Schneider versus Sif.
Yeah, who's got the names now?
I know. Well, I'm looking at his name and I can't. It's like Sif Eddie
Humini.
Humini is the same guy that Lepre fought last year at Euros and that Lepre beat in the open weight at Euros. He's the same guy that Mikey fought in the absolute, and he is probably 4 bills.
Yeah, I would
solid
guess.
4 bills.
He's a big boy.
He made Mahamed Aly, who is a solid 260. Look small.
Yeah.
Like legitimately look like a smaller dude. So I think he's every bit of pushing 4 bills. This match was really big guy jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it was big guy jiu-jitsu, but I think Igor did. So what I actually have here was this is textbook how to play jiu-jitsu against a guy that's bigger than you, which is saying something because Igor's already a huge man.
Oh yeah, Igor's a big dude too.
But he was playing like beautiful small guy jiu-jitsu against a man that is just much bigger still. Yes. And when I first watched it, because I had to watch this one twice after sort of realizing what Igor's strategy was, because I originally wrote down in my notes that Igor was like doing something crazy and trying these sacrifice throws, which I would never do on a guy that weighs 400 pounds. It just doesn't seem like a good idea. But what I think he was actually doing the whole time was like an aggressive guard pull that actually gets Sif down to the mat, but then he's able to sit up into a sit-up guard immediately. So he's sort of pulling to half guard, and then he sits up immediately.
Almost
and
like
then
you do with that cross-side collar throw.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like a not trainer throw, but you grab the cross-side collar, and then you sit into the side of guys.
Or like a leg drag or an arm drag
and
takedown.
You pull them into the empty space.
Yep.
And because you're not going to like knock the guy over in like the front plane or where he's strong.
Yeah.
But if you get to the side of him, you can eventually pull him into the empty space where you were initially, and he leans into you and get him down.
And then once you get out to the side like that, now mobility is
now being the smaller guy
is a good thing
in the ultra heavyweight division.
Yeah.
And so basically,
it was beautiful strategy on Igor's part. I think he did that 3 times. He made that takedown attempt, and the third time there was a scramble at the end. There was a part where Igor, I think, literally bounced off of Sif, and then they got both on their feet again, and then he got sort of a double, but it was all through this scramble that started with that.
Yeah, Sif like shoots a double here at the end. Like, the scramble, Sif shoots a double and then gets Igor down. Igor like hips and reverses and just is able to get on top and gets the points for the takedown.
Yeah.
And then that's working the pass, and that's the match.
Yeah.
It's big dude jiu-jitsu at like black belt level.
Yeah, it was really nicely technical. I was very impressed with Igor's approach to the whole match and the strategy that he played. It was really nice.
And Igor Sif actually beats Mahamed Aly.
Yeah, but so I didn't watch that extensively. I didn't take good notes on that match, but that win was, as far as I could tell, sort of just Mahamed not being able to mount too much of an offense.
Yeah, Sif was too big.
Sif was too. Yeah,
Sif was on top. Mahomed's on the bottom. Mahamed can't get anything going. Sif just push, smash. Mahamed can't get him off him, and that's the match. Wins the match. So I saw that. I was like, oh, look at that. So I had to go find the match and watch it. I've not got a chance. I just kind of
clicked through it quickly because there was not a ton going on in that match, but
yeah,
it was just Mahamed couldn't pull off an offense, and I think that's where Igor shined with the strategy that he was, because he never got underneath Sif.
Yes.
He managed to find a way to get to the ground.
Sif's like chest and like gut.
Yeah.
And you look at the match, I think towards the end of the match, you can see there's a profile shot of the guys, and you can see Sif and how much of him is coming out into the front and how far down his chest and like stomach is.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to, I deal with because I'm a tiny man.
Sure.
I deal with it with big guys that are proportioned similar to Sif. You can't get under them enough because their body sort of starts to get in the way of where I'd put my hooks initially to get the elevator hooks in. So it's like I can get to the elevator hooks, but their body gets in the way in that place where I put my hooks initially to get through.
The weight distribution is different too, so that it makes it difficult to...
It's super hard to get to the position I need to get to start doing anything.
Yeah.
And as a result, you play from this weird middle ground because the person's body's in the way. And it's honestly... go back and watch this match if you want to see what it's like to be like a small guy in a big division, because this is what it's Mahomed's a 260-pound guy, but he's still outweighed by probably 150 pounds. Almost.
At least I think.
So this is it was an interesting match, and I've not got a chance to watch a lot of the matches. In like the preliminary, in the.
But you wanted to see
16.
how that one happened.
Yeah, just I was curious because Mahamed, I think I picked him to win that division, and so I was super.
Which was a good pick, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've always picked the former world champion of the division,
usually.
typically. Like one of those Emil picks by the numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to try to pick those. So I've not got a chance to watch a lot of the match. I'm still mostly going to have to record the show today and tomorrow as I'm editing. I'll put matches on the background and finish watching the rest of Euros because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that does it for the men's weight divisions. Let's talk about the men's absolute division, which was, I think I can quote as the wildest shit ever.
Yeah.
Because Michale Musumeci, who was previously registered at rooster weight, went... I'm going to light feather. Oh, and I'm also doing the open. People, I put it on Reddit, and everyone online was like, he's not going to do it. And him and Kyle was like, he's going to do it. And then he did it.
Yeah, he did it. And so I think a good place to start here is actually Mikey and Sif, because we were just talking about Sif and how Mahamed Aly lost to Sif. Sif was kind of trying to do against Mikey too, and it was sort of happening. So where he just stays on top.
Sif just played the whole game. Like, he played the exact same game he played versus Mahamed.
But I think even if it had gone to a judge's decision, it might have... it probably still goes to Sif. So Sif loses on penalty points. But I think even if it goes to a judge's decision...
He loses a penalty point.
2.
Was it 2?
2. Yeah, 2 penalty points. He got twice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But he loses on penalty points. But I think even if it goes to the judge's decision, it might go to Mikey. And I think the big difference was Aly was playing sort of as closed of a guard as you can play against someone Sif's size. So he's still open, but his Sif is in between his thighs.
Yes.
Whereas Mikey was playing lassos. He was
playing an active guard
and
against
he was active,
Sif.
yeah.
Yes.
And he was using the lasso beautifully, and he does this against Aly as well, he uses the lasso beautifully to keep distance and prevent Sif from actually being able to use his weight that well. And he does that for most of the match.
And you look at I watched this match and I was like almost frustrated because I was not understanding what was happening. I was like, okay, I know Mikey's doing something, but the camera is a little far away. And it's like, I wish there was a better angle on this because Mikey is doing something amazing here, and I can't figure out what he's doing.
Honestly,
he's using lapels in his body work.
It was just using the lapel lasso. Or not the leg lasso. Sorry, I meant leg lasso the whole time that I was saying lapel. He was using the leg lasso the way that it was meant to be used, which is to keep the person from bringing their chest too far forward, right? If you can't bring your shoulder far forward, you can't bring your chest far forward. And so it controls that shoulder, and it does it without using a lot of strength. And so what Sif was having to do here was start to try to take angles, and a man that large, I just don't think that he had the mobility to get, and he just scooted around.
Yeah, and Mikey can like move, and like Sif's gonna take a second to move where he needs to move. Mikey's gonna take a quarter of a second, and it's just Mikey's, even though he's having to make up space, he can make up the space so much faster.
Yeah,
and so he can stay in position.
And so I think that was what was happening for a while, and now eventually that size difference breaks down. And even though Mikey is doing a beautiful job keeping distance with that leg lasso, Sif breaks through at some point, and then there's a weird exchange where Mikey gets back to pulling guard. There was never anything that definitely not anything that was close enough to a pass to give an advantage.
Correct.
And
I agree.
But there was some motion, and eventually Mikey ends up in more of that close as you can get to a closed guard.
Yeah, as a rooster weight, light featherweight.
And then Sif just starts trying to choke him from inside his guard.
And paper cutter choke him from that guard.
And just generally smash his face.
Yep, there's a great still. I forget who took the photo. And it's a still of Mikey. And it's just Sif's elbow and like forearm like crushing Mikey's face.
It's clearly the best meme of all Euros.
Mikey looks like he's having a bad day. And I was like, "Oh man, I've been there before," and that's why I don't do. That's why literally that photo is why I don't do open class or like really as much. And my back's broken now. Yeah. Don't train with guys like that size because I don't. I've seen Mikey's face. I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. That's my face.
Yeah, I can't. So I can't really blame Sif for trying that because he couldn't get past the guard.
It's exactly what you should do. You're a bigger guy. You use your weight. You try to choke from the guard because you're big enough and strong enough in that position where that is a realistic and sound technique that you can hit against a guy that size.
I don't know if I call it a sound technique, and I think
you have 100 pounds on a guy. I have 100 pounds on a guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm choking that child.
Maybe this is just bias because I've never really been the guy that weighs that much less than my opponent. I'm walking at like usually 230, 240.
Oh yeah, no, I hate you. So like you have almost 100 pounds on me.
So I don't deal with that often, and maybe I'm underestimating how effective the X-choke.
You have no idea how many big dudes have just decided to crush my face, and it's like, cool, this isn't in and all, but you're so big and strong, like I can't stop it, and you're gonna break my jaw.
I mean, I've gotten it before, but I've never felt like I've gotten people doing that, but I've never felt like, oh, this is a thing that I need to tap to.
Right, because you're strong and big.
That's
and you deal with a guy. I've dealt with guys that are like 300 pounds, and at a certain point, I feel my jawbone like push. I'm like, oh, this will. I can't flex my jaw. You're gonna break my teeth or my jaw because I can't stop this. And so I think it's a legitimate technique.
You're changing my world here. I'm gonna start doing that to you now.
Don't do. I mean, you don't.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, please don't. Please don't. I'll have to tap.
That's not my style.
Strong style.
But yeah, so he's doing that for a while, but he's also kind of pushing him out of bounds. And the ref at one point, I think, gives him a warning for pushing him out of bounds.
I didn't hear this.
So it's more. It was like the ref says something, and there's hand gestures, and he points back towards the center of the mat, and Sif looks up at him, and there's some recognition that there was something said.
Okay.
As they're getting close to the edge of the mat before the first reset. Mm-hmm. And then there's like another 30 seconds that go by. Sif pushes him off the mat. They reset him. He gets a penalty point. And so I think, I can't understand what was said. It's either in a different language or it was just too far away from the mic to really hear it as a warning. But it looked like a warning was administered.
Okay.
On their way out the mat, and then that happens. They bring him back. He gets one penalty point. He does it again towards the end of the match, and then actually, I think at the end of the match, there's a second penalty point. Time goes out when they're on the edge of the match.
Yeah.
But there's a second penalty point given for that same behavior.
Because it looked like he got one for like he was in the guard and he was trying to like forearm smash Mikey or like paper cutter choke him, and he gets a penalty there. And like it might have been when they showed on the screen or when it was a word. Like, I couldn't figure out exactly
I don't think
what that was for.
I think it was for the out of bounds because that was. I think the penalty point just showed up after they went back to center, but it was for pushing him out of bounds.
Okay, that was what I was confused by because it showed up there. I was like, I couldn't see what he had done there to merit the penalty point. So that makes more sense.
That was my guess because I know it happened after that, or I'm pretty sure it happened after the push out of bounds. It might I guess it could have also been a stalling penalty point, but I think it's more likely that it was the out of bounds.
I have no idea.
He was working something.
Yeah. So let's talk about, where do you want to talk about next?
Right.
The craziest shit ever, Mikey Musumeci versus Muhammad Ali?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I want to talk about.
Mikey Musumeci's up on points. At a certain point in this match.
For a good while,
Mikey Musumeci was beating Muhammad Ali on points.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately. Not like, some weird ref. Like, legitimately looked really good and was giving the, like, ultra super heavyweight dude problems.
And a premier ultra super heavyweight dude, right? Like, not just...
Former world champion.
Former world champion.
2018 IBJJF world champion at the weight class and, like, contender in the gi, 2-time ADCC veteran, like
unbelievable competitor.
Problems.
And and so I think that this was the leg lasso being used just beautifully. And I think for the first, so Mikey pulls guard for the first 3 minutes of the match. Mikey is just playing these leg lassos, and Ali's not getting frustrated with it, but he clearly is being cautious, right?
Yes,
which makes sense. It's gonna be really hard to pass Mikey's guard, even as Ali.
Gordon said it's hard to pass. Like, he's like super hard to pass Mikey's guard.
Yeah, he's very flexible and really, really good.
Yes.
And so it's like 3 minutes of Ali kind of playing safe and watching things and trying to deal with these leg lassos. And then the series of events that I have in my notes is that Muhammad Ali... So Mikey goes for a plata, and Ali picks him up like a suitcase, is what I have written in my notes. He just lifts him up in the air like it's nothing.
Like nothing. Just like he's doing an arm curl on him. And I went, that's not fair. Because I've had this happen to me, and it's not fair. I'm like this is legitimate. Like, you get an arm bar, and it's out, and I'm belly down, and a guy lifts me out of the belly down. I'm like, this isn't fair. Like, I won there, and you just got to keep going because I couldn't get you.
Yeah. But then I think Mikey realizes that that's happening, transitions down to a knee bar briefly, and then scoots under to 50-50.
That knee bar is going to be super hard to get.
Which I think is why I think that he just went to the knee bar to transition so that he was threatening something while he actually wanted to go to the 50-50.
And then so Muhammad couldn't just immediately smash down. He had to address the because Mikey literally has a DVD with Fanatics called IBJJF Legal Footbox.
Yeah.
Like, Mikey Musumeci has the fastest world championship victory in the finals by footlock in 16 seconds. Like, Mikey's not really a dude, and Muhammad is also a dude we've seen have some struggles with leg locks in ADCC, both at 2017 versus Gordon. And then versus 2019 versus Lockling. He's a guy that historically has talked openly about like having some problems with leg locks. So Mikey going to the leg as a little guy, Muhammad's like, not twice in 6 months.
So he drops down to the leg, which I think is just to threaten something.
Yeah.
And then switches the 50-50. They end up in leg entanglement, 50-50, straight ankle position, double open guard kind of thing is happening. And then Mikey's able to get up. He's able to base his leg out from underneath him. He uses a really nice cross pull on Ali's pant leg.
Yeah.
And just clears enough space to tech up for a split second, get those points, and then they're back down into where Mikey, I think, wants to be. I think it seemed like he wanted to be in that sort of position.
There.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to eat the guy's weight, and all of a sudden, like, you're having this come-up battle that's a lot more even, and Muhammad, although is bigger and stronger, Mikey is faster. And so it's like, that pushes the fight, because, in all honesty, Mikey getting on top of Muhammad, unless you're on the back, is going to be a really hard place to be. But in this come-up, who can come up more, faster, better, is probably the most even place he could. It's like really good gamesmanship and brilliant coaching too.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! You can hear Kai. I think it's Kai.
It's got to be Kai
coaching. Listen to this match for the coaching because Kai was like, he's basically telling him when to not come up, when to stay on something, and you hear Mikey listening and then actively immediately doing, and Kaio knows exactly where Mikey should be from the points perspective in the match, and it's beautiful to hear someone like coach through exactly what's happening.
And so the thing that, like, the coaching was beautiful, and I think that one part where things got kind of started to change for Mikey during the match, which I think that he was probably actually in control of the match most of the time, but where things started getting a little bit more out of his control was when Kyle was saying, okay, move to the bolo, and Mikey does. He beautifully moves to the bolo. He's got Ali's legs up in the air. He's got his feet hooked beautifully. Like, everything's perfect. And in a light featherweight match, at that moment, Mikey has the legs in position perfectly and the grips perfectly on Ali's hips, where he would pull
and
get back control. And I just don't think that he could move him.
Yeah.
I think it was honestly just a weight thing.
Muhammad just goes, I'm not going to let you do this to me.
And Muhammad's inside leg, where that's what you're going to be defending with in that bolo, or the leg that's closest to Mikey. He is just dropping that like a ton of bricks down onto Mikey's hips, and it's really hard to move a person when they're using their thigh that weighs half of you to keep your hips there.
Probably pretty close to literally, probably maybe literally weighs half of him.
So, I think that was where things started to break down. And again, it was great coaching, but I just don't, I don't think that it was a doable thing. And Mikey did everything technically so beautifully that I feel like it had to have just been a size thing there, because
sometimes you just can't get the thing to work against the dude that big. And I think that's, again, it breaks down right there with, like, it's an open weight match.
Yep.
That is some of the reality sometimes what happens. Beautiful match. Aly wins it, I think 2-2 points, and then 2 advantages for Aly. And then Mikey looks a little injured, and I can't tell if he's just super blind or like injured.
I think he's always looking at the scoreboard like that.
Face,
he just squints
but he
really hard.
But he like hunkers down like for a while, and I couldn't tell if he was like
I think he might have just been upset about about the loss.
But he took it well, but I think it's only his 3rd loss at black belt.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna lose to someone,
that's what I mean. It's like crazy. We talk about Keenan and like him just like being crazy black belt competitors.
This match is so interesting overall, because I feel like it both tells you how good jiu-jitsu can be against a bigger person, and also tells you how important size can be in jiu-jitsu, like in the same match. At different points in the match, it's so clear that when you have two guys that are so skilled, that size does become a factor, but also that size is less of a factor if you're using it strategically and like able to do this. It's just such a beautiful display of jiu-jitsu overall.
Beautiful match. Like, this is a match, if you go back and watch a match from Euros,
this is it.
This is one of the ones you should definitely watch for so many reasons.
I think it's the first one you watch.
I was the first one I watched, honestly. Next match, Keenan versus Mahamed Aly.
Yeah.
Do you have notes on this one?
I do.
I have 300 words on this match. I was like, I kept writing. I was like, oh my God. Like, I wrote literally a half page on this match. It was
a good match.
It was a really good match.
Yeah.
And Keenan is, again, we talked about it earlier in the earlier segment about how to deal with Keenan.
Yeah.
Muhammad like tries to rush through Keenan, and that is where Keenan excels and does so well before. And like, Keenan has beaten Muhammad 2 out of 3 times that they faced. They all fought. They fought in 2018 3 times. Keenan took the first 2. Ali took the 3rd one, and this was basically a rematch in 2019 with Keenan's current meta, and Keenan has refined so many things.
That's the thing that I got out of. That's where all my notes are on this match.
Yes.
Is Keenan refining whatever the hell it is he's doing right now with the innovation on the lapel things.
Yeah.
So he plays his normal worm guard very nicely, does a great job with it, and then as soon as he gets the sweep is where things look very, very different.
Yes.
And I think everyone knows this. He holds that. This is something that I like. Again, another thing that I try to coach people is if you get a grip, just never let it go.
Yeah.
No matter what. Never let a grip go.
Never let a grip go until that grip is no longer advantageous. You choose to let it go, or it has outlived its usefulness. That's what I say to the students all the time. It's like, and when it's outlived its usefulness, then you move on to the next
And if you're a white belt or an early blue belt, I generally advise that even if you think it's outlived its usefulness, hang on to it a little longer. Maybe you'll find out different.
Yeah, just hold the grip. Like, unless there's a reason you're letting go of this, don't let it go. And Keenan gets up and he just like, cool, I have the grips I wanted. I'm not going to have to re-grip here. I get up and now I have grips I want too.
And he's got this foot wrapped up in the lapel. And he hangs onto that through a pass into knee on belly. And then even longer into the match.
He locks Muhammad Ali's leg over with his own lapel. And this is where I want to go back and read the IBJJF rulebook, because there's certain things where I am not certain if Keenan passes on top and his lapel is wrapped around someone's foot is the lapel considered part of the body where he has to pass the lapel through the legs in order to be considered passed? Or is that because Keenan is initiating it there, with that lapel being trapped under the foot?
I did not think about that at all.
Yeah, because I've talked about, because one of the guys I train with, the owner of Gamma, Greg Liu, we train back and forth a lot of times. He plays a lot of that game, and we had a discussion about this exact thing like 2 weeks ago, because we were training and this happened.
He got the points for it.
He got the points for it, but it was just a question of like, okay, I need to read the rules again because they scored the points. I assume that is the correct thing. I want to make sure I understand that, though, because the lapel stuff is meta-y enough that I want to make sure I'm advising and coaching my students right. And me, when I compete, understand, okay, what do I have to do? What is required of me to score here?
Yeah, that seems gray, but I mean, intuitively it makes sense that he gets the points.
Well, it made sense because Keenan was initiating it. It was not Mahamed holding the grip from the bottom. It was Keenan holding his own grip around Mahomed's leg. And he basically he kept Mahomed's leg in the place I never tell people to keep their leg, which is, when you in side control and you do the lazy side control where you put one leg that's close to your opponent on top of your other leg and there's like a weird footlock thing that happened there. Well, Keenan forces Mahamed to keep his leg there with the gi, and then keeps pulling Mahomed's leg further and further, almost into like a cross-legged position.
But by doing that, by keeping Mahomed's leg tied up like that, he's not just taking the leg out of the picture. He's also removing that hip from the picture because he keeps the hip up off the mat or down on the mat where he wants it, and
flat the entire time there.
And it just makes his passing very, very slowly accessible. He can just move into what he wants, and he does. Which moving slowly and methodically against Mahamed Aly is just not something that you do, and he was able to do it
because he forces that scramble, he forces that explosiveness, and Keenan shuts it down and just like makes and just attritively like gets through kind of what Edney did earlier, would just like slow it down and like force an attritive, and that Mahamed, because he's so dynamic and so explosive, if you do that to him, he tends to have some more problems with guys because very few guys can out-explosive Mahamed, so that's not the place you want to fight that guy. And Keenan, great gamesmanship here, doesn't fight him that way.
Another thing that happened that was interesting in this was something that actually didn't score any points, but Keenan ends up in Mahomed's open guard at a certain point. So he's got this foot locked up, and then eventually Mahomed's able to get to like half guard, I think, and then actually able to get a full guard, and he breaks that grip somehow. I couldn't figure out exactly when it broke, but it did stop at some point, that foot lockup.
Yeah.
And then Keenan is in open guard, and he takes the lapel, he wraps it around the outside of Mahomed's leg, feeds it to his other hand, and then has this like entanglement of the lapel between Mahomed's legs when he's on top. And then he starts using it to pass.
No, he doesn't start. He passes with it.
No, he didn't actually get the points for it. For that, he didn't end up getting the points. No.
Okay, I thought he finished.
No, I mean, he basically, I think he got an ad for it.
It looks like a leg drag with the lapel.
With the lapel, yeah.
And I was like, what is this magic?
And
I saw that.
And then I noticed on Instagram later today that now he's promoting like chapter 13 of his book, the use of lapels on top, which is brilliant timing, and obviously it's working. But I remember watching this match thinking he's doing something new here, and he's got a game plan for this, and he's doing it on purpose, because when, I could see a scenario where I get this sweep from this lapel guard, and now I just end up here. I happen to have this, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to hang on to it. Right, I'm going to hang on to this, and this is great. I'm just going to use it, and it's not like a forethought planned thing. I'm just going to continue doing.
The sweep was the fourth, and I'm here, and I've taken situational grips that I had when I swept, and now Keenan's taking these grips, and it's like, oh, now I want this grip, and I can
intentionally
use this
putting
grip.
them there on top.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing.
I want to look. This was, again, I was super confused for some of this because Keenan's game is extremely confusing. I think he went to
very
most
unorthodox
black belts. Like, it's really confused. Like, most competition level black belts, it's confusing.
Yeah, it's very unorthodox.
Keenan's talked about, like, there's a couple black belts that can, like, give him problems with it, but usually most guys just don't know
also, we
where
don't have a lot of other people playing it. I mean, it's getting more and more, but
he's the only guy that plays deep into the lapel system at black belt. Like, other guys will play like lasso and play like shin and play these other sort of lapel entanglement guard spiders, but like only Keenan at the high level is playing consistent like worm guard and spider worm and lasso. And
although we did see it in one other match.
We did see it, but he's
not like that.
Playing it. He's using it as a system as opposed to guys using it as a position. So super interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Keenan eventually gets all the way to the back, and then he looks like he's going to like a finish on the back, some sort of armbar or choke. You see him kind of like do the thing towards the end of the match where you just kind of extend and you start going for something and you're going whatever gets to get. It's probably not going to get anything, but there's not enough time in the match where it really matters.
Yeah.
He's also up 10-2 with 7 advantages at this point. Looked amazing. Very few guys can do that to Mahamed Aly. Mahamed Aly is a monster. Most guys can't get him down effectively. Better yet, rack up that many points on him. So
it was a remarkable match. Great display of technique.
I'm probably going to write something up specifically on this match.
Yeah, it's worth
because
it.
I really enjoy. I might write something up specifically on the open weight class because there was some really cool storylines and really cool matches to talk about. So look for that on the Grappling Rewind or maybe on some other place. So, want to move into the women's divisions?
Open.
That's open. Jeez.
Gotta finish it.
That
wasn't it.
See, they're out of order now for me. All right, so finals match for open weight, which was Felipe Andrew versus Keenan.
Yep.
And, man, I called this wrong.
I think everyone did.
So
except maybe Felipe.
Yeah, really good match. Back and forth, and then Keenan's on top.
It was quick.
It was quick. Keenan's on top. And Felipe Andrew has basically the entry to spider guard. He has the double sleeve grips.
Yep.
And Keenan squares up over top, and Felipe Andrew, in a brilliant move, basically throws a flying triangle from the bottom. But like it's basically the spider guard shoot with his hips, but he throws it off his back, and then he immediately cuts the angle, and it's deep.
Yeah,
and it was like, wow, that's really deep. I don't know how Keenan's getting out of this. And Keenan lifts up and turns, and Felipe Andrew cuts the angle. He grabs his own foot, and he turns, and he locks his foot down, and it was like, oh, that's really tight. Keenan goes to pull to defend the triangle. Felipe Andrew goes, nope. Goes, extends, gets the armbar, and taps Keenan Cornelius.
Yeah, really shocking.
Literally,
beautiful technique on Felipe's end. I thought it looked a little bit like, I don't know what was happening, but it didn't look like Keenan was playing the game that he wanted to play, and he looked like he was a little frustrated with the leg lassos that Felipe was using, and Keenan didn't look as methodical as he normally does playing jiu-jitsu. He was sort of doing a little bit of like throwing of the legs and this kind of thing, and it looked like he was a little more aggravated with what was happening.
Flashy is what I was. He's like, he was going to get by the legs, and he was going to do what he did to Muhammad just then, and like he was going to just win this match.
And and I think Felipe took advantage of that quick motion, and I'm not sure what was happening there, or if maybe there was a strategy behind it that I'm not seeing because we never got to, and Felipe just took advantage of a situation, and maybe Keenan was being really intelligent with doing that and was going to transition to something else or had game plans for it, but it just seemed uncharacteristic for that 30 seconds to a minute that he was on top doing that.
I thought Keenan was going to basically do a throw by pass, and because he'd done it before. It's that kind of like partially triangle. The person gets their first leg over, and you lean your shoulder forward, and you turn their hips, and then you kind of throw the leg by, and you get passed with it. And Felipe Andrew does a really good job of like as Keenan goes to square to make that transition, just shoots the hips up. And props to Felipe Andrew here.
Man.
Like how tight he got that triangle that quickly, because Keenan's a tall dude.
Yeah.
Amazing to get there on his hips. And like,
and he used the sleeve grips to get the momentum to get up there. It
was so quick. Like, I watch this. It's a couple frames of just like down, and then you see Keenan turn, and Felipe's just up on him, and
the whole thing is sunken at the right angle immediately. Like, it just happened. Everything happened so fast, and that the final position was. It was a triangle. There was no more setup necessary.
Nope. It was either gonna,
which I think is if you're gonna take Keenan out, that's how you need to do it.
Yeah, you gotta armbar him.
You can't give him a chance to deal with the submission. No, it's just gonna happen.
I mean, so Keenan's been subbed 3 times at black belt, twice by Gordon Ryan, and this is the first time in the gi by Felipe Andrew. Yeah. So really, really impressive match. Go back and watch Felipe Andrew versus Mahamed Aly in the weight class. Yep. That's a really interesting match, but I'm not going to cover it because we're running a little long for the men's divisions. But yeah, amazing, really great final. Go back and watch the final. There's probably, again, look for the grapplingrewind.com. We'll probably make a list of matches that you should go back and watch, just like a real short list of like, hey, here are the hitters for Euros. So women's divisions?
Yeah, women's divisions.
Let's do it. So let's start with the Roosterweight division for the ladies. If I can find the bracket here. It was a smaller division. It was Mayssa Bastos versus Serena Gabrielli.
Yeah. So I liked this match. It felt very much like a sort of. I kept viewing it as like an old school versus new school jiu-jitsu sort of match because Gabrielle was playing like she wanted to be in Rooster. Mm-hmm. She wanted to be on top.
Yes.
Right, which was just weird for me. Like it
it's
felt like
weird
nobody wants to be on top of Rooster.
In a small women's division too. It's like
yeah.
typically women's divisions, it's gonna pull and
Yep.
it's a race to the bottom, and then it's a race to a sweeping position or ad position.
Yeah, and it was really beautiful jiu-jitsu. I mean, I think that she loses the match, but
Yeah.
it was great on both ends. It was a really
Yeah.
nice back and forth match. But it did feel very much like old school versus new school. There was this pressure passing from Gabriella, and then just impeccable guard retention by
Mayssa.
Mayssa.
Yep, Mayssa.
There it is. Impeccable guard retention. And it ended up being that she gets a
sweep with 11 seconds left.
Yeah,
Mayssa is able to.
I think she was up on ads.
Yeah,
I think she was up 2-0 ads or something like that.
I don't have
Maybe
the ads written in my notes.
Yeah, I remember thinking that with those 15 seconds left that it didn't really matter that she got the sweep, because like it wasn't like oh my god, this happened and now she wins. It was like well, she just wins a little bit more now because she was winning
very definitively versus advantages.
Yeah.
Very small division. It gets division of 2, so Mayssa takes first and Summa Gabrielli takes second. I hope that we see the divisions kind of get larger. I hope the division's a little larger at Worlds.
Yeah.
It would be nice to
Usually
see a rematch. Yeah, between Recap and Mayssa again. I would love to see that. Recap was not here, but I'd like to see the Bruce division can be a lot of fun. But good match. Let's move on to the light featherweight division. Talking about Talita Alencar versus Ana Cristina Rodriguez.
Yep. Really, really tight BJJ here. Ana Rodriguez was the aggressor the whole match. I think it was.
She gets really the only positional offense in the match. She gets an omoplata attempt at about 7 minutes in.
Yep.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Gets an ad for it.
The defending was really nice. Mm-hmm. I think that...
Talita Alencar is really, real tough, and she does good. She gets up nice and tall. She turns the angle. She gets out of it.
Nice heavy pressure into
Isn't able to sweep off of it.
Yep. Which I actually had in my notes that it was really impressive that she was still on top at the end of that defense, because how often do you see at top levels someone defend a plata and not get swept in the process?
Right.
It's challenging to do.
Did a really, really good job keeping her base up. She kept her hips nice and high. She never really let her hips and like shoulders like get broken down, and so she was able to keep the position and get back out. But the advantage gets scored, and Cristina Rodriguez gets the victory.
Yeah, and I think that's the right. I mean, it's obviously because the advantage is the right win, but she was the aggressor the whole match. She was definitely winning the match the whole time, but it was really nice defending.
It's also really nice they didn't cut a decision. It went to there was some sort of definitive piece in the match that happened, and
it was nice.
Mm-hmm. So let's move on to the featherweights for the women. This is Amal Amjahid versus Larissa Campos or Carvello. Let's see, a lot of double seated open guard and rocking sweep attempts back and forth, the straight ankle locks. This is that double seated open guard, smaller weight jiu-jitsu where everything is fought from, like, you can't see me unless you're watching the video. I have my hands like little T-Rex arms. Like, everything is fought from the grips inside. There's no flaring motions. There's not a whole lot of turnovers. It's just that double, like, I want what I want from this position. And I'm not going to accept anything else, and I'm going to take what I want, and then when I take what I want, I'm going to do the thing I want to do, and that is the only thing I'm going to do.
Yeah. And I have a hard time commentating too much on these because there's a lot of subtlety in there that I never have to play, being a larger guy.
It's like, what is this subtlety? It's like, just grip and rip, baby.
Right, just like pick it up. No, but there's like a lot of play, and you can see it. There's really nice play where they're moving, they're getting pant grips and moving feet left and right and trying to get things over their hips, and I don't fully understand what's happening because that's not a game that I ever have to be part of. But it looks like it's really technical, and they were doing a great job with that back and forth. But I don't have much to say about it just because it's very foreign.
Yeah, basically, it's a sweep trade battle. And Amal is able to come up on top and gets the victory. It's basically what it comes down to. And it's 2-2 with 3 advantages for Amal and 1 penalty.
Yeah.
Good match. So, next match, one of the stars of Europeans, Ffion Davies versus Charlotte Von Baumgarten. Okay, so my notes are funny on this one because this was both the open weight finals and the weight class finals. Zach, you've just given me a great look of confidence. Is it not?
No, Jessica Flowers was the open weight.
Oh, did I watch the wrong matches?
Maybe I watched the
Very
wrong matches.
possible. No, you are correct. I watched the wrong matches. So,
Well, I'll talk about the open weight.
let's talk. Well, which match you want to talk about? Because Ffion fought Charlotte Von Baumgarten twice, and the same thing happens. Scores a bunch of points, gets the back, gets the choke.
Yeah.
In both matches.
Yeah.
Looked amazing doing it.
Yeah.
In my head, these are now. I don't know
It's the same match.
Oh, I don't know. The same thing happened in the match, but I don't. In my notes, I don't know because they don't list which match was which. You would hear Drysdale talking about one match, but I didn't realize that it was the open weight match. So I thought it was the weight class match before. So
Got it.
So my notes are messed up for this match.
I went through the Flow website.
Oh, that's
that
a
says
good
this is the
idea.
finals match because I was worried about that happening.
Nope, I just watched the videos and did Control Find with the
yeah.
filters on and did it that way, which
Yeah.
is this is. I'm not a smart man. I did it the hard way. You did it the easy way, Zach. So why don't you talk about
I
this
have
match?
notes on what I'm fairly confident is the actual finals
what
match.
Flo said was the finals
What Flo
match.
said was the finals match. And so there's double guard pulls 3 times, which is pretty standard for this weight class. But then Ffion comes up into the top, sort of. She's the one that begrudgingly comes
I
to
do
the
have
top.
notes on the Flowers match.
Oh,
We're
okay, good.
Just these 2 matches are in a row. Both matches with Charlotte are in a row.
Okay. But Ffion sort of begrudgingly comes up to the top, like everyone at these weights do. And then she circles into a leg drag pass that's really nice and settles into side control and gets her 3 points for passing on that. It was within a minute that she's made that pass after a couple resets from the double guard pulls. She's somehow ends up in 3/4 mount for a little bit. Hold on, let me read this real quick.
Read through my notes. Yeah,
read.
I'm looking above. I'm super,
I've been reading when you talk.
I'm super unhelpful right now because I have 2 matches with the same names that are like, oh, I'm sorry, like I have the wrong. I have both matches.
Yeah. Von Baumgartner, she was in 3/4 mount, and I think she was just getting a little frustrated from being there. This is about 7 minutes through the match, and she tries to sort of roll, like Upa roll out of it.
Yeah.
But maybe I didn't have the right angle, or maybe I'm missing something, but she didn't really have top arm control, and you can do that from 3/4 mount.
Yeah.
And get
If you
away
have
with
that-
it, but
that
you have
close
to
side
have
arm.
that side arm, and she just didn't have it. And when that happened, Ffion was able to take advantage of it and move up into mount from 3/4 mount, and then gets her points for that. And then from that point forward, she's working this beautiful gift wrap situation, moving back and forth between Ezekiel's and gift wraps, back and forth over and over again, eventually settles in to get a really tight gift wrap, pulls the back, and then finishes with
It's
one
my
arrow.
favorite back takes with that gift wrap.
This was like a progression of how to, like, if you sit down and think about how am I going to win this match, and you start from standing and work all the way to a submission, this is exactly what she did.
That's why I love watching
just
Ffion, because a lot of how she competes and how she rolls is that like nice positional walk up and like
it was
position to position.
really,
position.
really
But
nice
I do
progressive
love
jiu-jitsu.
watching her because she'll stop off at subs.
Yeah.
She's not just I'm looking for the back, looking for the choke.
Yeah.
She'll like arm triangle you, she'll
Yeah.
arm bar, she'll take what she can get, but if you don't like allow her to get anything, she's going to be fighting the whole time, but she's just going to walk you up positionally, and she did a beautiful job here.
It was a great
at Europeans, and I love that she is a European female competitor
Yeah.
winning. I always love like
She said that in one of her interviews too.
I like the Americans winning because I'm a little biased, but I also love it when people from the region or the country that the event is in win that event, and it's always like really cool to see. Like, cool, you're showcasing like local talent. Like, Ffion is an international level star and really amazing grappler.
But it's great that she also wins there.
She gets to win in Europe, and I always like that. Same with Tommy. Like, I'm really happy that Tommy Langaker took his division. I was a little upset that Wardzinski like couldn't take his division, but it's still like it's cool to see the European grapplers showcased at the Euros. Yeah. And like I always really enjoy that.
Yeah.
So she takes that, looks amazing doing it.
It looked great.
Now I gotta find the brackets now because I clicked around because I was confused. Moving on to the middleweight for the women, we have Tamara Silva versus Danielle Alvarez. Danielle Alvarez. You lose your place?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good.
Double pull. Danielle comes up for the advantage. Tamara has like a spider lasso. And Danielle kind of breaks the grips and tries to blow past with the legs. Tamara inverts off the pass and attempts like an underhook waiter sweep and brings herself like up.
Yep. And then it's the face down knee bar attempt comes off of that.
Yeah, this is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
This is the match.
Yep.
Okay.
And so this face down knee bar attempt is really well placed, and she's able to sort of pull her opponent off balance enough, and then starts scooting that leg underneath. And it's just a really nice progression on how you go from this face down sort of like loose knee bar and then maintain position, keep the leg, and slowly creep into the final finishing position.
And the camera work is great here. You can see exactly what happens. I love this knee bar because basically initially they sit in this position for a while, then there's no tap, and you're safe there. But as soon as you start to address it and you start to push up, you lift your hips and you give your opponent control of the hips. And so Tamara is able to get underneath the knee.
Spirals in and then creeps up into the knee as she's spiraling.
And then you watch her like lock her legs over to get the control behind the thigh, because you control over the thigh. You can control over the back of like the butt and the glutes, but if you get on the back of the thigh, you still have the same level of pushing and like pulling control to like hip into the knee, and you get it. But I love watching this because I knew where it was going. I was like, if she can get her hips up there, because I hit a similar knee bar to this. But it's cool to see like that pause position where it's like, I'm safe here. But unless I address this a certain way, if I address the knee bar like any other way, the person lifts me up and gets underneath me, and you see Daniel does that. Tamara does a great job getting the hips up there and gets the knee bar finish. I love that we're seeing more knee bar finishes recently.
There were 3 here.
And we saw one versus Cyborg and Hugo. Like, we're seeing the knee bar, like, not come to prominence, but we're seeing it finish a lot in finals recently.
I feel like it's been a stepping stone to other leg locks for a long time.
No,
that's it. But
I consider the knee bar the king of the leg locks, because the knee bar is, you can fall to any other leg lock.
Hooks?
No, because you can fall to any other leg lock from a knee bar. You can work down the positional chain to anything else after the knee bar, but you can't go back up. I can't go from a heel hook to a knee bar. I can't go from a toe hold to a knee bar a lot of times. Like, depending on what position I'm on one of those end level heel hooks or end level positions. I can't go back. The knee bar, I can usually fall down the chain to something else. And so it's like, that's why I consider it like the king of the leg lock, because you fail upward in that position.
And I think that's why it's been used as a stepping stone for so long, because you get people reacting to the knee bar because it's a first thing that you can do and then move on to other things. But I think people are getting more of an appreciation. And I mean, this has been happening over the past 3-4 years now. People are getting more of an appreciation for control positions of the legs. And then along with that, you get more knee bars, because when you have proper control of the leg that you're attacking, you're going to be able to land the knee bar rather than just attempting it and then having to move down to the other submissions. So
really great finish here. I mean, I love the shift in meta. This is where I was like, man, there are a lot of knee bar finishes happening.
Quite a few.
And I'm a fucking fan. I love knee bars. So next match, we had the medium heavyweight division, Maggie Grindatti versus Samantha Francisco. Man, it's just 4 names. Sorry, Sabrina Santos. Or Sábatha? Sábatha. This is, again, so I apologize, Europe, for my butchering of your names. I'm reading the names so Zach does not have to, because they might,
worse at it.
They might be worse. What do you got, Zach?
So Sábatha guard pulls, and it's actually looked like Maggie Grindatti was one of the few people that was trying to look for a takedown. Like, she was approaching.
Grindatti's a takedown player. Like, we've seen her a lot of times. Like,
in her brown belt tournaments, she was going for takedowns, and so it looked like she was going for that. Sábatha.
I think this is her first major at black.
I think it might be her first competition at black.
I thought she did some at open. I think she did an open.
Oh, did she?
I don't know why I think she did an open, but she had. She might have had no points going into this one. I forget.
I'm not sure, but it was definitely her first major at black.
Grindatti had no points going into this one. So this is, I think, her first event at black belt, which is impressive to jump into Euros. It's like, cool, you got black belt, go for one of the Grand Slam tournaments like a month later.
Right. I mean, it made sense for her. It wasn't like a big jump, right? Yes. She dominated so much at like blue, purple, brown.
She won world championships at
every 3 years in a row too, right? Like didn't even take a break.
Blue, purple, brown. She won world. I mean, she's at the level, but she ran into Sábatha.
Yeah, and I think she struggled in the absolute a little bit too. I think she got caught there. But I mean, these were all good matches.
Now, weird thing. So we'll talk about that now because you brought it up. Yeah. I cannot find her match with Bianca Basilea.
Really?
Yeah, I look up either their names.
I saw the match. I know I watched that match.
I can't find it. I searched last night. It was the last match before I went to sleep that I was looking for, because I was like, oh, curious. I finished all the finals and I was going for, other matches. I can't find it.
Interesting.
So if anyone has that, if you could actually send me the link to that match on Flow or wherever, I want to watch it. And so I couldn't find it.
I watched it, but it was one of the early. Like, I think I watched it before the finals match happened, because I was just kind of watching the absolute division.
When were you up?
I don't know when this happened.
Like 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
Yeah, I get up about that
early.
That's
terrible. I'm going to die. I'm asleep.
I get up at 6 usually, at least.
I'm done with that life. Sorry. So
anyways,
that's non sequitur.
So yeah, this was just pretty straightforward jiu-jitsu. Sábatha is playing a really nice spider with the leg lasso, which we saw a lot of throughout all the Euros. Playing it really beautifully, creeps up very technically into a triangle, and it's very strategic, step-by-step jiu-jitsu that I think worked really nicely. And
right off the spider lasso, and Grindatti's corner is calling her to watch the triangle, watch the triangle, and you see Grindatti get really just like, she's in the right place, but Sábatha just does what she needs to do and pops the leg over that spider guard hook, and then triangles, and then gets the arm and gets the tap.
Yeah,
so
it was
just like
a
good
relatively quick
work.
match, but it was really nice, progressive jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah.
So next match onto the heavyweight division for the ladies, we have Laura Baker versus now I have struggle with this name, Magdalena.
Magdalena sounds like a
Loska.
Yeah, that sounds.
I looked at it last night. I was like, oh, I'm gonna butcher this one on the show.
Magdalena sounds right after hearing it too. I feel like that's what they were saying during.
I sounded it out really well because I'm an adult and I pay taxes. Laura wins 2-0 with 2 advantages with 1 penalty for each, and that was.
It was a really straightforward match.
She gets an omoplata sweep and wins the match with the omoplata sweep.
Yep.
That was the whole match.
Yep. That was it.
Basically.
It was a lot of like closed guard play or open closed guard shifting back and forth play. Pretty standard stuff, high level, but pretty standard stuff. Omoplata sweep.
That's it.
That's
what gets it done.
Yep.
In a match, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. So moving on to the super heavyweight division, we have Jessica Flowers versus Kendall Marie Riesling.
Nope, because it was a closeout.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in my notes I have some. Yep. Everyone fought and beat Venla Lukonen in the preliminary matches for this one. So yeah, closeouts.
And then there was a closeout. Closeouts are closeouts. But it was only one this year as opposed to what we had last year at Euros, which I think was some weird closeout stuff happening, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was weird. But I'm happy we have one closeout versus more.
Yeah.
If you want to hear our feel of closeouts, listen to last week. Listen to last week's show. We talked about it at length. I think all of us are getting a little done with it.
That sounds right.
Really, it's just like
you just don't get to see jiu-jitsu.
Well, it's just like, imagine a powerlifting competition if me and you are buddies and all of a sudden just don't lift the final weight to see who wins, and I just give it to you. It's like we're there to compete, so if we're not going to compete, then why are we there? It's also a division of 3.
Yeah.
So you close.
It's also weird because I think other tournament structure sports don't really have the opportunity to do that. You just don't have a lot of people that are on the same team.
Well, even if you are, you deal with it beforehand. Like there's a way to do. It's interesting. I'm less of a fan. I'm more vocally less of a fan, but I don't want to belabor it here because you want a European Championship. Good for you. I'm just not a big fan of closeouts. If you want to hear us go off on closeouts, listen to either the World show for last year or the preview show for Worlds last year, or listen to last week's show.
Yeah.
Because we go deep on that. So. The second Ffion Davies match in the open weight division. I'm honestly upset. I have not got a chance to watch a lot of the women's open weight classes yet, and I want to watch a bunch of these because these are always really
I watched
fun
some of the
matches.
ones that were not the final, like not semifinals and finals. I watched some of the ones that happened on Saturday.
And that's what I want to watch. I want to watch some of those. We have Jessica Flowers versus Ffion Davies. Take it away.
Yeah, Flowers pulls guard.
With like a throw by pass.
Yeah. It was
like a really
interesting guard pull. It was very aggressive guard pull. She came out real hot. But Ffion is able to what? They have a bit of the like sit stand business happening. And then Ffion gets up and just really nice mobility passing.
Over under pass.
Yeah.
Just bop, gets the back, and then is on the back for about 8 minutes.
Yep.
And there's really, there's a lot happening, but it's back control for 8 minutes, working the choke. Yep. She wins with the back 4-0 with ads.
Yeah.
Takes the championship, takes the open class.
I think that like watching, this is another one of those things that if you're interested in some of the like minutia for your own technical game planning, watching Ffion in this match is really smart because she does some things that I think once you start to advance in jiu-jitsu are good ideas, but are bad ideas when you start. And so there's seconds long periods, minute long total time where she has her feet crossed. And that's like, what? Right? You day one are like told don't cross your feet when you have someone's back, but there are appropriate times to cross your feet when you have someone's back. And
you
it's
should
specifically
take Holly
when
home.
they're
the same thing. It's like she has her feet crossed finishing that choke.
Yep.
Ffion Davies has her feet crossed, finishing the choke. There's plenty of high-low matches you can point to where it happens.
And she's doing it at the right times.
Yes.
And that's what's important. And she also transitions to body triangle at the right times. And so it's this really nice play back and forth where Ffion is able to keep the back for a really long time because she's doing these nice strategic control things that are subtle, but if you're paying attention to it specifically for that and you go back and watch this match, you can see a lot of that and how high-end people are able to keep the back for that long. It was really interesting. Minute, but really interesting work.
It was like, if you're a fan of Jiu-Jitsu and if you've made it this far on the show, you definitely are. It's a really good match to watch for like the control. You watch someone on the back actively working in the gi for 8 minutes, in an open class of a major event at IBJJF. You're not going to get much higher level jiu-jitsu.
No.
Keep that control and transition and active. And Ffion isn't one of the people that's actively looking to hold the back. She is looking for the finish actively.
So you get this,
So you get to see the dynamism on the back while someone's looking for a finish, while keeping a controlling position in a high-stakes match. So it has really all the things. I don't want to just blow through it, but it has all the things that we look for when we're talking about matches. So that does it for the Euros. Zach, do you have any closing thoughts? We went pretty long on this, but it's a major event. So
I have sorry, I'm not going to take too much time on this, but I have a couple things that I like to do when I watch majors. The first is I actually go and I don't take good notes on them. I just sort of quickly graze over all of the purple belt and brown belt finals. And I do this, my example that I always give for this is that the Miao brothers won all of their purple belt matches using Berimbolo years ago, right? And at that time, most of the black belts that I knew were questioning Berimbolo and saying things like, that'll never last, it only works at purple belt, and then obviously that ended up not being true.
Yes.
Right? And so I like going back and watching those matches just to see where the meta is going to be in a couple years, because I think that innovation occurs at purple belt. It doesn't happen as much at black belt. I think the guys that are innovative at black belt have been innovating since purple belt. I think a lot of us are set in our ways. We've been doing things that we like for a long time, and it takes a long time for me to change my game. It takes a long time for even high-level guys to really adapt their offense, especially. And so I like looking at purple belts because we see what happens there. And I'm trying to find...
You got me. So I've noted what you had here. I'm super excited for what you got now.
So,
no pressure.
Purple belt, literally all finals except the ultra heavyweight, someone made an attempt at a worm guard. Every single one. There was an attempt at a worm guard. Foot in, it's specifically foot in worm guards too. And they weren't always great attempts. In fact, many of them were not great attempts. And there was not always an offense mounted from those attempts. But people were trying to get there actively. And I think when you have someone like Keenan that has been doing this forever and knows how to get into them, it still takes him a bit of time. And so there were these awkward attempts to get in there, but you could tell it was very obvious that someone in every single one of these purple belt finals matches was trying to get there, which is very, very interesting and is in line with what I've experienced. I travel a lot for work, and every time I travel, I make sure that I go and train somewhere, and damn purple belts all around the world are using these worm guards. It's a thing that I've noticed traveling around, and it's a thing that I notice at this high of a level for purple belt that people are trying it. And so I don't know if it sticks. There's sometimes purple belts that get really big on something that doesn't stick around, but it's a thing, and it's there.
Seeing this a lot. And if you see it at every single finals match.
Except ultra heavy, I think there was no attempt at it. But
ultra heavies are different guys.
Yeah.
Ultra heavy guys.
It's a weird place, right? So then moving on to brown belt, asking the same question, is this what's happening? No. There was maybe one active use of what I would think of as like a real Keenan-esque worm guard at brown, but what I did notice was happening was that traditional guards like the sit-up guard and De La Riva, where you have options to get different grips, right? So like the lapel grip has always been an option in sit-up guard, and it's been a good one. It's always been an option in De La Riva, and it's been a good one. But I think preference has always gone to a sleeve grip in those situations, or a high collar grip, not the low lapel grip.
For the controlling of the
right?
shoulder that you can do there.
Yeah, and what I noticed was a lot more people at brown belt were defaulting to the low lapel in those situations. Not the high lapel grip that we traditionally see with De La Riva or these sit-up guards if you can get it, not the sleeve grips, but people were really comfortable with that low lapel. And so even though we weren't seeing what Keenan's selling, these worm guard situations, we're seeing people being more comfortable with these low lapel grips in positions where they're available, which I think is also really interesting. It doesn't necessarily mean that the meta is going worm. I think,
but it means the meta is getting off of the top collar grips and you're moving more so towards the lower lapel grips that are maybe easier to grip, going to be more present, are going to give you different options and may be more available to you and are harder to hide later into a match.
Yes.
Which I think is what you're saying is what I draw from there, what I think, and what I've seen from the matches that I've seen at like all belts is you see the people opting for those grips more so than they used to, especially. Like,
and
I think Keenan's bringing the prominence.
It might be heading towards people just being more comfortable with that now because Keenan's doing all these things. There's now
and he's shown you being successful with it too, which I think is big.
Yeah. And so that might be why that's happening. And then the last thing is just that Tynan, I don't know if he goes by Costa as his last name because I get really confused with Brazilian last names. There's a lot of names.
I cannot assist you at all here.
Yeah, he's an AOJ brown belt that is only a brown belt because he's not old enough to be a black belt right now, I think. And he is just an absolute monster. He submit everyone in his division in less than 5 minutes, and I am excited to see him move to black belt as soon as he's old enough to.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, so that's it.
Any other closing thoughts for Euros?
No, it was really, really exciting Euros this year. Really exciting Euros. A lot of good technique to go back and check. That's it.
Yeah, it was a really great event.
Yeah.
So moving into our recap of JitzKing, we're just going to recap the 145 men's final match here for the 16-man tournament for $5,000 and a couple of other super fights. Let's talk about that match. We had Ethan Crelinsten versus Andrew Tackett, which is William Tackett's younger brother, who is a blue belt or
16-year-old blue belt now? I believe they said.
Yeah, but a different kind of blue belt. Put a little mic there. Get a little closer.
Oh, sorry.
That's all good.
Yeah, 16-year-old blue belt is on the books, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those like, by the numbers. So he fought Ethan Crelinsten, and Ethan Crelinsten, ADCC entrant, trials winner, has looked really, really good recently. He just got off of the Moldolfo camp with all of the ADCC guys in Florida. This was also in Miami where the camp was. So Crelinsten's had probably literally one of the best camp weeks. He had like 11-day camp he could have ever had to go into this tournament. That's why we picked him as the front runner. Dude was going to be really, really hard to beat.
And he looked really, really hard to beat. Tackett looked good, though. He was playing a strategy which I think has fallen out of favor over, this was a strategy in the early days of Nogi when you still had a lot of catch guys that were doing Nogi tournaments. And it's this sort of like constant pressure submission attack strategy, which is basically how catch works a lot of times. And so in the early days, you had some people that would come out with this strategy. And this is a strategy that I used for all of my MMA career, whatever that was, those couple of years. And then all of like my early Nogi competitions was this just fucking attack strategy. And it's hard to keep up with because it's really nice when you get submissions, but your conditioning has to be
and especially impeccable. With a dude like Ethan that's super hard to put away and super high level and can compete on that world stage. Like that constant attack strategy, unless you're going to get the guy, he's going to weather the storm and he's going to come back.
And I think that's what happened in this match because the first 3 minutes when there were no points, Tackett looked so good, and I really think that he was probably winning the match at that point, just based on aggression and.
I mean, they do score points. There was a point.
The first 3 minutes there were no points.
Oh yeah, ADCC, ADCC style for that. So first
couple minutes there were no points, and so there was a couple like top bottom switches that were not really sweeps. It was just someone giving up top control because they didn't want it to be on the bottom, and a lot of good submission attacking.
I like that rule set, by the way. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's like, look, work your time. If you can do it sub-only style, here's your time to do it. And then after that, cool, it's time to actually choose a winner here if neither of you guys get it done. So there's points.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice setup. But then that second half of the match, Tackett sort of slowed down a bit, and he didn't look exhausted. He was still mounting an offense here and there, but there were moments where you could tell he had to step back and take a breath. And actually the points that Crelinsten got came off of one of those breaths. So Tackett sits back in guard, takes a breath. He's a little high, and Crelinsten just like palms him in the chest and knocks him over.
Palm sweep.
It was
it's like Kung Fu Hustle style. Just like
it honestly looked like he was angry with him at a bar and just like bro pushed him.
It was Ray Longo punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what it was.
That's what it was. But then he followed up and then he chased him down, and Tackett almost didn't get the point scored on him because he was mobile really nicely.
Like he knew, and he's like, he came up and but he wasn't quite able to stop it.
Yeah. And
really
so
what it was.
It was like a 30-second 30, 45-second scramble. Crelinsten ends up getting the points, and then that was the match. That was it. It's all it took at that point.
Crelinsten takes home $5,000, dude.
$5,000
I love seeing guys get paid out, especially dudes like Ethan that are
Yeah.
on that world stage that have the talent. Like, that puts that guy with some money to go and like do training camps and like compete and travel, and like that's a dude that potentially can start making his living as a professional grappling competitor. So I'd love to see these guys getting paid out.
It's nice.
Achilles Rocha won the teen tournament, and so Wagner's son, and then Wagner's daughter, Jasmine Rocha, also won her super fight match. So it's like, well, Wagner was supposed to fight William Tackett on this card, but William and Wagner are injured right now. So so it broke down. So it's why they would have all the Wagners on the card, or all the Hoshas on the card. So it's cool to see Achilles Rocha win his teen tournament as well. Cool. There's 2 other matches I want to talk about on the card. We had. I want to talk about the Boogeyman match first, or I want to talk about the Combs match first?
So in order, they went Steele and Combs, and then Boogeyman and Coco. But
let's do Boogeyman and Coco.
Yeah, sure.
Enrico Coco jumps on a heel hook and gets.
Well, that was in overtime. The regulation time of that match was pretty. I mean, we don't have a lot to talk about there either. It was a lot of open guard play. Not much happens, and then they get into overtime, and Coco decided that he wanted to win that match and gets snapped on.
Quick heel hook.
Yeah, he did that. He did a nice entry where he sort of put his foot in the middle in between Gio's legs and the back step. Yeah, Boogie's
other brother.
Sorry, wrong brother. Boogie's legs, and did this sort of back step, and
the entry is really nice. Like, he sits underneath it and he gets his bottom leg underneath Boogie's leg to elevate, so it stops the knee line from being pulled through because your hips are up, and then he enters into the outside heel hook, and then just
that's it.
Rip and rip, baby.
Couple seconds worth of jiu-jitsu time there, but it was really nice technically.
Yeah, and then Boogie did what Boogie did versus Craig Jones, and kind of like get flat on his back and just try to like roll out his shoulders and kind of like flail out, and then didn't work again.
Yeah.
But gets it done. So Coco gets that heel hook, and Boogie's notoriously been difficult to sub with heel hooks because he's got super flexible knees, as shown every time that dude plays rubber guard. So impressive that Coco would lock it up.
Yeah, it was really nice, and it was. I mean, it obviously had to be very tight, right? The hip control that Coco had was
the entry was
phenomenal.
Really, to get underneath and get that deep that quickly was nice. So next match, let's talk about the final match for JitzKing to talk about is Kody Steele versus John Combs. This is a tough match. This is Cody's first match as a black belt. Cody just got black belt 2 weeks ago or something like that. Recently? Like super recently.
It was both guys wanted to wrestle. And that was what it was. It was a lot of wrestling, a lot of stand-up. And I actually expected Steele to have the advantage on the wrestling, but as the match progressed, Combs really looked very good.
80cc. Yeah. Like, Combs won 80cc trials.
Yeah.
And
his wrestling looked great. And he particularly had a nice series where Combs hits this outside single, but Steele defends really beautifully with the whizzer. He pressures in nicely. Combs transitions from that single through the whizzer up into a guillotine, and then lets go of the guillotine, and Steele stands straight up, and then he drops down, and Combs dropped down into a double. It was a nice progression of stand-up attacks. It's really like textbook how you should. That's why
I really enjoy watching both these guys, because they're super dynamic on the feet, and like they will. I think where they both shine is they are active transition guys, and that's kind of where Combs gets shut down by guys like Lepre, where like guys that can really pressure him and like keep him contained. But if you let him work and you give him the space to kind of scramble and work, Combs is really, really hard to beat. I think definitely, like you said, in the standing exchanges here, that was very, very kind of evident of just how quickly he's transitioning from like the level changes and like the in and out movement on the legs.
Yeah, and then once they're on the ground, Kody Steele looked a little uncomfortable on his back. In this match in particular, he looked a little rigid. I'm not sure what was happening, but that was the gist of the match for me.
He gets the back and then gets the choke. Yeah, is basically what it was.
Kody turtled up. He looked, like I said, he looked a little uncomfortable there. And I think there was a bit of a pressure pass kind of situation. He turtled up and looked like he was going to start to try to do some mobility rollout kind of stuff. And then he got caught. And
Combs is a veteran and gets and backpacks super well. Yeah, gets it over. I was actually really, really surprised that Combs is able to finish here. I did not expect that, but again, it kind of highlights how good Combs is in no-gi, and like you guys tend to sleep on him a little bit, but you really shouldn't, because he's really really
great.
good. Because we've seen Steele recently look really good against high level opposition. So it like highlights like, okay, yeah, both these dudes. I mean, Kody Steele is the champion for combat jiu-jitsu at one of the weight classes.
I don't know which one.
I've forgotten which one he is.
Yeah.
Might be welterweight, actually. I don't recall. I think this is a 180 pound match.
there.
But yeah, really good. The replay is not up yet. The event replay is up, and you can kind of tab through there. It's working now. But
you can make I think that the match order was actually the Crelinsten Tackett match was last, and then
because it's tournament final.
Working backwards, it was Gio, and then Kody Steele's Boogie. Sorry,
missing up the Martinez brothers.
We've been talking a while.
Yeah.
It was Boogie and
first show
Coco,
for you.
and then Steele and Combs were black. So you can kind of work your way back from the video if you want.
So that does it for JitzKing. Anything else?
Yeah, no, that's it.
So moving into the preview section, we're going to talk about Kasai Pro 7. This one has a heavyweight tournament that features 8 of some of the top heavyweights in the world. Emil and I have our flights booked. We got credentialed for this one, so look out on the grapplingrewind.com and on our YouTube page for interviews, for backstage stuff, for articles. Emil is running a numbers crunch article on this one, so he's actually going to like not just make gut picks like we're going to do today for who's probably going to take the tournament. He's actually going to
close my eyes and point.
Basically, he's going to do it by the numbers, pulling a bunch of stats for when these guys have faced each other. Look for that on the grapplingrewind.com. So let's talk about the 8-man tournament. We have Cyborg, we have Jean-Gabriel Rocha, we have Nicky Rodriguez, we have Bruno Bastos, we have Patrick Gaudio, we have Vinny Magalhães, Lucas the Hulk Barbosa, and Kyle Bain.
Yeah.
That's a lineup.
It's a lot of great names on that list.
So I think they run these in, so what they do is they run it Copa Podia style, and they run 2 4-man brackets, basically, but it's round robin style, so everyone on that side of the bracket fights each other. So I don't really want to preview it too much because it really is dependent. Like, do we get Cyborg, Vinny, and Hulk and Kyle in the same bracket, or is it Nicky Rodriguez and Cyborg and Bruno and Patrick? Like,
which would be a great rematch to see, but yeah.
But we potentially have there's a bunch of really fun rematches. Like Lucas and Kyle just fought each other at BJJ Fanatics, and Lucas the Hulk Barbosa looked really, really good in the regulation and really outpointed Kyle, but it's no points. But in the overtime, Kyle was able to take it. Kyle's also a new black belt, so there's not a ton of black belt data on him, but we've seen him in the no-gi scene for a long time. This is all no-gi. Cyborg and Nick Rodriguez had a very closely contested match at ADCC. Dude, so many of these guys have fought each other before. I don't want to speculate too much, but Hulk is hard to beat.
If I had to pick someone, it would probably be the Hulk, but Cyborg is always an option.
And Cyborg,
Cyborg is always a good call.
Yeah, I picked against him in the heavyweight GP, and I had to eat my words on that one hard because he looked really good. He beat everyone. Really good. And it's he's one of those guys that
he looked good at ADCC too. It's not like he doesn't have the glory that comes with winning and placing and things like that. But he looked good in his matches, and his match with Nicky Rodriguez is still. People still argue about it. So.
Yeah, and it's a closely contested match versus a guy that no one could figure out at the point of time. And then Cyborg was one of the first over the hill. It was a cool top level dude having to figure this dude out with all the lights, all the things in front of him.
It'll be really interesting to see how Nicky Rodriguez does here too, because I think his game has been developing more, and now people are aware of him.
And he's full at Donahurst now. He's finally made the switch. Actually, Jay's going down to coach him.
Oh, really?
Yep. And then he's actually flying up to do finishers commentary.
Oh wow!
So that'll be cool.
So it'll be interesting to see how he does, because I think this crowd of people can figure someone else out really fast, and I don't think anyone expected him to do what he did at ADCC.
No.
And I don't think anyone looked into him and had any idea what was happening. And now he's a real threat. And so these people and his match with
Lucas Barbosa,
his
Fight to Win,
Fight to Win was. At Fight to Win.
Yeah. He pulled quick, got the legs, got the heel hook, and then we saw Victor Hugo try something similar, I think, 2 weeks ago. I wrote a preview article about that on our site and did a big kind of look at how their games are going to match up. And Hugo did a lot of what I thought he would do. Nick Rodriguez is getting better at passing the guard, but at the black belt level that he's fighting now, he's having a hard time with the dynamism of the black belt guard. He still does a lot of the rollover passes and jumping cartwheel passes, but the black belts have been able to track him better now and kind of lock him down.
So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see how he does here, because he could either shine because his game is developing, or other people figured him out and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Or anywhere in between. I'm really excited to see what'll happen there.
It is very interesting. I think, again, the guys like Gaudio. Gaudio just looked really good this week. We saw him with a dope knee bar in the finals of Europeans. He's off that now.
He's also just finished Euros and is traveling.
Yeah, that's
which is not
across the world to now fight a bunch of killers. So it's like, again, I don't want to speculate out too much, but it's a really good tournament.
Yeah.
Look for the Grappling Rewind to put out a ton of content for Kasai, because I am very, very excited to cover it, and it's going to be great. We also have some dope super fights on this card. We have the rematch, Renato Canuto versus Dante Leon. We saw this one at 80cc, and it was hot fire.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it again. Again, I honestly assume it's going to be really similar to the first one. I want to see Dante's a guy that we see getting better and better and better, but Canuto at the Kasai stage has been amazingly hard to stop.
Yeah.
Like, just he plays into that rule set really, really well. And his wife is also on the card. Raquel, I always call her Raquel. It's like Raquel Canuto versus Pedro Rocha. That is versus Gabby McComb. I was like, that's not a woman's name. Jesus. Versus Gabby McComb. That's a really good match. I want to say that both these fighters have the belts, but I think not super fights, they were their tournament belts.
Yeah.
So not the super fight belts, the tournament belts. We also have Mike Perez versus Pedro Rocha on this one as well. Yeah. That's a really good. Mike Perez is also another guy coming out of that Moldolfo camp, that 11-day camp down in Miami, Florida. Yeah, and so there's a lot of people that are coming out of that, and look for Perez to have added some new tools to his game and some new pieces there as well. Undercard also looks really, really good. I'm not going to read through it all, but it looks like a really, really fun event. I highly recommend that you tune in for it and follow the Grappling Rewind on all the platforms for social media and our website, because we're going to be putting out some really, really cool stuff for this. Anything else?
Nope.
That does it. So happening Sunday on YouTube, we have Finishers 11. This is actually a quintet-style event, and there are 4 teams. I'm super excited about this one. I'm still actually going to find out tonight if I'm booking flights from Dallas directly to this event, and I'm still figuring it out. It's basically a cost thing of like, can I get a flight cheap enough from Dallas to make this happen and then take off the day Monday from work to go and do this? Because that's
probably worth it. These events quintet-style events are so exciting.
Oh my God, and the guys on it are really good too. So we have 10th Planet Montreal on this one. We have George. I'm going to butcher these dudes' names because they're in super small print in front of me on the screen, and I can't find my mouse. There we go. George Tazas, Chris Crawford, Paul Blanchard, Scott Rodriguez, and Ellis Carradine. Ellis actually trains probably about 15 minutes from us at Method.
Oh, yep. He's up at Method.
Yeah, he's up at Method. I think he's still a brown belt, but he's a monster.
Yeah.
And he's looked really, really good recently. We have Team 10th Planet Finishers. We got Zach Maslany, Ray DeLeon, Gabe Tejada, Tony Burshak, and Ricky Lulay. Really, really tough team. Again, 10th Planet guys know the quintet rule set. We've seen them successful in it before, so they're going to be really, really hard to beat. We have the other guys. We have Tim McInerney. We have John Battle. We have Javier Palomo, who actually helps run the Grappler Union podcast out of Chicago. Oh. So a big fan of Javi. We've seen Javi compete before. We've covered him. We have actually just got his black belt too.
Oh, nice.
Like a couple weeks ago. You got a cough there?
Yeah, sorry.
We got Julian Banner and Zach Green. And for Team Show the Art, we have Kyvan Gonzalez. We have Ethan Soares. David give me that name?
Wentetrub.
We have Valor Boyer and Denise Aguin. Got to see Valor back. We covered him at one of the finishers, and he broke his arm. So I'm actually super happy to see him competing.
How long ago was that?
That was Finishers 9.
Okay.
Versus Renee Souza, I think. Maybe, I'm not sure. It might have been
enough time to recover.
No, it wasn't Renee. It was against might have been against Gabe. I don't recall who it was against, but yeah, super happy to see him back after that injury. There's also a bunch of other super fights. We have Grace Gundrum on the card as well, versus Trinity Pun. That should be a really good match. Grace looked really good recently. She got her brown belt. There's a bunch of really good fights on this card. We have Eric Naples versus Mujad Joseph. I can never get his name right. We've covered him before. We actually done commentary on his matches before. Okay. We have Zach Edwards versus Dominic Tabata on this card. And there's a bunch of really good names on this card. We have Cece Mena versus Catherine Egan. I keep looking at this card. I actually not looked at all of the matchups yet. Yeah, it's a lot of fights, but it's a lot of really, really good fights, dude. Finisher brings it recently. So look for that on YouTube. It should be a ton of fun. Actually happens on Sunday, too, so it doesn't conflict with anything. Nice. Highly recommend you go and watch it. So we have the third Coast Grappling Qualifiers. This event's going to happen on YouTube, so another free event you can watch. We have a brown belt male 180-pound bracket and a female 160-pound and below bracket. They have been released. There's also a bunch of other super fights on this card. It is going to be great. Third Coast is bringing it recently. I love these open tournaments because it gives you a chance to fight in and earn your spot on the big event for March 14th. And I love that guys can. I mean, it's not an open tournament, but I love that Third Coast gives guys an opportunity to like.
It's making a huge bracket spread out over a couple different events, and that's something that not a lot of places are doing, not a lot of organizations are doing.
But I love qualifiers, so I love that these guys are running it. We have Eric on the male bracket under 180. We have Eric Wright. We have Ricky Rivas. We have Bradley Cofton. We have Austin Ordine. I apologize to everyone here that I'm butchering names. We've gone very, very long today. We have Andy Cordova, we have Nick Schrain, we have Alex Lane, we have Thiago Asa. On the female 160-pound and below, we have Lynn Chicha. Tara Lewis. We have Alana Holy, who's Jordan Holy's wife, actually. We have Gabrielle Villafrete. We have Cassidy Welch. We have Melissa Zolano. We have Alyssa Sheik. We have Amber Smallridge. Should be a really, really fun tournament. I'm looking forward to it. Again, these qualifiers are always super good, super entertaining. And everyone fights really, really hard in them because you're trying to earn your spot into that major tournament. Or a major like super fight.
So the visibility in winning these is very high.
Yeah, and
the names on a big bracket.
Yeah, and every time we've seen these, they've been a lot of fun, and they're free. So it's like there's no reason to not watch it and enjoy it. And there's always super fights. I'm not sure where the rest of the super fights are. I can't find them right now. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. All right, so that does it. This was a pretty monster episode.
So, yeah, it was a lot.
Zach, it's your first episode on the Grappling Rewind. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I don't ever get to talk for 2 hours about jiu-jitsu. It's fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's a big portion of why we do the show is like I want to talk about jiu-jitsu for a couple hours a week.
Yeah, it also forced me to watch all the matches in a timely fashion, instead of spreading it out over forever and then forgetting to get to one or two.
That's what I used to do. It's like you just watch it over like 4 weeks and I forgot this match. I never really watched the finals match there. Like, what are the results and move? This kind of forces me to like watch all the matches.
And it's nice watching them all close together because I'm looking at trends across the matches rather than seeing one and then thinking back, oh, what was that other person doing? Did this happen there before?
That's kind of why I like our end of the year show because it forces you to go back to the events list every year and like, look at like, oh, that was this year? Wow. And you think of all the main events for all those. And I'm going to try to be more diligent. I say it's already January. More diligent this year with like tracking matches that happened this year that are like big matches, big events. Honestly, I should do that now instead of like end of the year when Emil comes together or Emil or Austin comes together. Here's the Josh. Here's the giant list of the good matches. Like, oh, those did happen this year.
Oh, those were good.
Yeah, so it's been awesome. Any kind of closing thoughts? Like again, we threw you into the deepest of deep, and literally, Euros is the show that Josh and I initially brought more people on because it was so ungodly difficult to cover, and we just threw you on. I was like, hey, Good luck, Zach. We know you're a smart guy, so we're gonna throw you into the deepest of deep ends and see how you do.
Yeah, no, it's fine. If this is the deepest of deep ends, I look forward to the shallow parts.
Oh, dude, the shallow parts are great because you can like get like super detailed. It's like, oh, there's 4 matches covered this week. Oh, we're gonna go in depth on these matches. Those are always fun, but these are always like the big ones are a lot of fun too because you just get to see like a huge host of jiu-jitsu. It forces you to watch like 30 plus matches in a weekend and like take notes. And I find that as a practitioner, I get a ton out of those. I
think that happened for me too. It's good. It's good for these majors too because you can start to see where the meta's going in the very competitive scene, which means that, even for people that are hobbyists, we're going to start seeing that stuff happen a lot more. It's good to keep up on.
And you also keep in mind, like, you go in with the preview and know, like, okay, this guy is scheduled to win this event. Oh, he lost. Why and how and who beat him and then who beat them. And it gives you a better framework for other events and the storylines later in the year when you get to things like Worlds and Pans and Brasileiros. Like, oh, why is this match more important? Like, why is the Mahamed Aly and Keenan match more important? Why is the Mikey match? Like, it gives you some more context.
Why is the Mikey Seif match more important?
Right. Like, the rematch that we need to see. So I think that's always really cool with these majors is that you watch them all in a microcosm and I have to pour through the brackets and look multiple. Okay, we had this match guy. Like me now writing previews, I'm finding I'm doing that a lot more. I'm going through like BJJ Heroes and other records and like it's forcing me to kind of curate more information, and I think it's made the previews and our coverage for Euros better. And so I'm really happy that we launched the site and are putting the articles up there, because it's forcing me to do more work. But I think our big thing in 2020 is make better content and kind of flesh out what we do. And I think it's really a nice catalyst for that. And I'm really excited for 2020, bringing you on again as another like really great host and like resource to have on the Grappling Grind for the people that listen to the show, and for the stuff that we do. So I'm happy that you sound like you have a good time.
I'm happy that you invited me. This was a lot of fun.
We threw you into the deep end, and so let me know, when you want to come back on, and we'll definitely arrange something.
We'll schedule something
maybe
soon.
Put like 3 guys on, or maybe do like a 4 mic or something like that.
Yeah,
and it'll be great. So you got anything you're doing this week that's fun?
This week? No, my mom's in town next week, so. So
you're getting ready for that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So
I'm from Cleveland, so trips for visiting parents and things like that take 6-7 hours. You got to make sure that. Yeah.
That's a long ways away.
Yeah.
All right. So you got anything else, Zach?
Nope.
All right. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my host,
Zach Brodnick.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.